Good afternoon. Big Sills National Football Show. And isn't it great to say National Football Show when football season is here? So the Raiders on the NFL Network already hitting with one another. Crazy. Football season is here. Next week, we're talking about Eagles in training camp. We're talking about the start of the 2022 season, and bills are to be paid. No more conjecture on what this guy may do, on where you think this thing fits. Now the reality television show starts, man. That's beautiful, man. Sports is the greatest reality television show in all of broadcasting, because you know why? This isn't like wrestling. It's not rigged. It's a storyline that plays out in front of you each and every single Sunday, Thursday, or Monday night. You get a chance to watch it, man. You don't really know who's going to win. We don't know what Jalen's going to do. We don't know what the Eagle defense is going to look like. We don't know how good Jonathan Gannon. All of those, we don't know how good the NFC East. Who knows, man? That thing may turn out to be one of the better divisions in all of football. Nobody knows. That's what sports is number one right now in broadcasting. It is. More money is spent by networks on live broadcasting for sports than any other entity in any other genre. It's great. That's why shows like this, platforms like this, are all growing like a weed. I mean, you got the NFL now on Amazon. Do you know how big that is for shows like ours and networks like JAKIB Sports? That the NFL is also now vested in it. It's great because JAKIB got ahead of the NFL on this. NFL now goes, yeah, we got Thursday night broadcasting. Gets this. If you don't have Amazon, you can't watch Thursday night football. How crazy is that? If you don't have him, you can't watch it. I mean, I can't wait to see how 2022 unfolds for all of us this year. You know, I want to start the show off. I appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for coming aboard. Greg, I appreciate the great compliment. Thank you so much. Kyle, thank you again. Bob, thank you again. Michael. Sills, when are you going to make your own power rankings? I had one after the draft. I'll do another one as we get closer into the regular season. Okay? Do I need multiple accounts to watch games this season? I don't know, man. I have no idea. But the NFL is spread out everywhere. Streaming, broadcast television, cable television. No wonder that thing is the biggest sports entity in North America. The NFL is just king. I want to start the show out by doing this, if I may. I want to go back to the Kyler Murray signing. Kenneth goes, Sills, let's stir some shit up today. Okay, let's. Are you ready? Let's. Kyler Murray signing of $230.5 million. How many people totally like Kyler Murray? By the way, Xander, I saw what D. Gunn said about Kyler Murray today. He's not wrong. He's not wrong. What's he done? What's he won? What has he done to deserve 46.1 per year over the next 5 years? I'm going to tell you what he's done. He's made Arizona relevant. By the way, when I say this, and you guys clue me in on this all the time. You ready? You clue me in on this all the time. The Philadelphia Eagles don't need to sell season tickets. Okay? We pretty much know 69,937 is going to go into that building at Lincoln Financial, right? Pretty much know it's going to be a sellout. But let me tell you what Kyler Murray. Hey, by the way, do you like everything about Kyler Murray? I thought he did a business decision in last year's playoff game against the Rams. I question his maturity. By the way, my friend Howard Balzer, Pro Football Hall of Fame voter, in the second hour, 4:30 Eastern from Sports Illustrated, was there in Arizona covering the Kyler Murray signing. I want to get his spin. He covers the team for SI and also is a Hall of Fame voter. Kyler Murray does this, and I'm just wondering, and I'm going to tie it into Jalen Hurts here in a minute. Look what he does. He puts him on prime time. I mean, let's go back and look at something here. You think Ryan Tannehill makes the Titans relevant or exciting, or you're on like Thursday night TV, or you're on Monday night, keeps you in the news, makes your team relevant, more advertising dollars for your local revenue? What do you think Ryan Tannehill does for the Titans? He's not very exciting. Remember when Andy Dalton was starting in Cincinnati? Think about that dynamic there. Follow me here. Andy Dalton won a lot of football games in Cincinnati. Go back and look at the record. Was he very entertaining? Not very exciting. When you watch Joe Burrow, you're building facilities because of Joe Burrow. Kyler Murray makes the Cardinals relevant. He's exciting to watch. You enjoy watching him play. I heard Rob say this. I'm more enamored when he takes off running and he breaks down defenses on third down. D Gun's right. He says this. What's he done? What's he done? The most important thing for an owner. He's made them relevant. The Bidwills have a player that makes their team relevant. Who were they before Kyler Murray showed up? Nobody. Nobody cared about Arizona Cardinal football. Arizona Cardinal football was a non-register on the television screen. You were not going to be a 1:00 game when you played in Arizona. Now you are. Now you're in the main windows. Now you're talking about being prime time. Now you're talking about being relevant. Remember something. There's two sides to this when you're signing a player. And I'm going to tie this into Jalen here in a minute. The Bidwells want their organization to be relevant in their own community. They want them to be relevant nationally so they can sell spots, make money, build facilities, get stadiums maybe. Lucas Oil Stadium is built because of Peyton Manning, not because of John Harbaugh or Jim Harbaugh when he quarterbacked in Indianapolis. Peyton Manning built Lucas Oil. He made him relevant. And there's the dynamic. You got the football people over here going, he's this. And we win. On the other hand, you got the business side of it where, get this, you've got to be relevant. You know, one thing that Cowboys have done over the last 27 years, they remained relevant. Even though they haven't won, it's because of the owner. They've had relevant players because of the relevant brand. How can that team be the richest brand in the world in sports team-wise, and you haven't done anything in 30 years? How? It's marketing. Having the marketable players. How many people think Jalen Hurts is marketable? You think he's exciting to watch? You think he's entertaining to watch? I don't know. I think he's okay. I wouldn't go like this. If you put a ticket down on a table and said, Jalen Hurts or Kyler Murray, I'm picking the Kyler Murray ticket up. If you put Jalen Hurts on the table and said Aaron Rodgers, I'm picking the Aaron Rodgers ticket up. If you put the Dak Prescott ticket on the table, I'm picking the Dak Prescott ticket up on the table. I'm not picking the Jalen. If you're Jeffrey Lurie, do you see and feel the excitement that you have going on in Arizona? And I'm not saying that Jalen is not. Watch this. All those intangibles you talk about, it seems that Kyler Murray doesn't have like a lot of those Jalen Hurts intangibles. But yet, get this, he just got $230.5 million. He seems moody, scrubbed his social media, acted like he was a 14-year-old, cried his way to $230.5 million. And if you notice the contract's got a lot of playing incentives. active game, $800,000 bonuses. They're kind of hedging their bets in Arizona with this money. There's no doubt the guy in Cleveland got the better deal. Probably 5 times better than what Kyler Murray got. His deal's $230 million guaranteed. There's no playing incentives in that deal. Hey, you got $230 million, $46 million in guaranteed cash. You don't have to show up to the facility to get some of your money. You're getting it all. Dude, Deshaun Watson's deal is 10 times maybe even better than what K1 got. But I bring this back to Jalen. You think Jalen really makes the Eagles relevant? Justin Herbert, he makes the Cardinals relevant. I'm talking business-wise here, not so much about playing on Sundays. You think Jalen's exciting to watch? I think guys throwing dirt worms and overthrowing people are not exciting. Okay? And in today's NFL, if we learned anything about that signing yesterday, it's not about personality. It's not about leadership. It's about being marketable. There's 2 sides to this thing here. Okay? Xander says this, McMullen hit it spot on. Murray is better than Hurts will ever be, and Murray isn't good enough. He's right. He's right. But you know what Murray has? Murray has marketability to him. He has the marketability. He's good. Okay? He's good and he's marketable. By the way, look how smart he is too. I posted this on my Twitter page. Do you understand what Kyler Murray did? Was so brilliant. You know, when he got drafted by the A's in the first round, making him the first and only player in football and baseball history to be a first-round draft choice. Do you know what he has accomplished? He was given, you'll love this, Xander, he was given $3 million as a signing bonus by the Oakland Athletics when he signed with the A's. He had to give that money back. And today, he makes more money than the entire Oakland Athletics payroll in 1 year. He is the A's payroll. He makes as much money annually being the quarterback of the Arizona Cardinals than he would ever playing in Oakland, who has a payroll of like $46, $47 million. You're constantly on TV. The NFL markets quarterbacks. The nation, the media, all are around. Well, that's all we talk about is quarterbacks on this program. They're the most recognizable athletes in American sports today, is the American NFL quarterback. They're like the version of the Premier League soccer stars here in America. You know, Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi and all those great players that play in the Premier League overseas. Here in America, our Premier League is the NFL. And they're now being paid almost as much as Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo. They're not known around the world like those two guys, but our world is from New York to California. Wouldn't you rather be that than playing center field or shortstop in some minor league place for 2 years? Making $3 million, now you're making $46.1 million. Think of that. He makes more money or as much money today as the entire team professionally that plays in Oakland. That's incredible. What are 24 guys on a big league roster, 25 guys on a big league roster? He makes more money than 25 guys combined on that team, the Oakland A's. One guy. Talk about a business decision that went right. Okay, here's your $3 million back. I'll take 46.1. This guy's smart. By the way, do I like all the things I see about him? Absolutely not. But he just got paid for being Kyler Murray. And when I see Kyler Murray, I do not see anything that resembles Jalen Hurts. It made me think last night. The problem in Philadelphia is not so much Jalen can't win games. The owner wants to have a relevant player at that position. And just being a good dude and being fairly decent is not going to move the needle for him. The Dallas Cowboys own the NFC East, whether they win it or lose it. Why is that? They have a marketable quarterback. They have a marketable brand. Everything they do around that team has everything to do with business. The Eagles are hoping that the kid can play. The Cowboys are hoping that Dak can sell the brand. Jalen Hurts doesn't sell the Eagle brand. He doesn't. You know who sold you want to know who sold the Eagle brand? Michael Vick. Michael Vick sold the Eagle brand. The most relevant that you have been at quarterback in the last 20 years is when Vick was your quarterback. Everybody watched Vick. Everybody played Madden. Everybody knew when he got to Philly, he is your most recognizable player that you've had, T.O. and Vick. Those guys make you relevant. Because you know what? John McMullen is right. McMullen is right. Jalen's good. He's not Kyler Murray. And Kyler Murray's not near enough in talent to lead that team to a Super Bowl and win it. He's just not. How about this? Nick Foles was never going to keep the Philadelphia Eagles in a position to win a Super Bowl every year. He just wasn't. Didn't have the capability. Tom Brady, Joe Burrow, Aaron Rodgers, they keep you in the picture every single year to win that game. Okay? Every year those teams are in it to win it. Matthew Stafford keeps the Rams relevant in the picture to win the Super Bowl. And keeps you on prime time. Look at how many prime time. Hey, Xander, check it out. Is it me or have I seen more Matthew Stafford in 1 year than I saw in 12 years in Detroit? And that guy played on Thanksgiving. That guy played on Thanksgiving every year, one of the most televised games of the year. Detroit's always on Turkey Day. And I look at Matthew Stafford now and I go like this. I've seen this guy more this year than I have in the last 12 years before he showed up in LA with McVay. Okay? I mean, how did he get, and you start asking the question, how did Kyler Murray get $230.5 million in 46.1, making him the second highest paid quarterback behind only Aaron Rodgers? And don't tell me it's the market, because I would never pay Jalen Hurts $30 million to quarterback my football team. He makes $1.1 million now. And throwing 16 touchdowns, that's about right. 16 touchdowns or 20 touchdowns doesn't equate into $30 million and being a face of a franchise. I'm sorry, but I don't see it. Kyler Murray opened my eyes. You think that Jalen is electric enough to be your starting quarterback? Hey, let's just do it from a business aspect. Let's just pretend not winning games. You think he's exciting enough to make people go like this? The Eagles are relevant. Look at the Titans. Are the Titans relevant? They were the number 1 seed last year. The number 1 seed in the AFC. I didn't even know that until the playoffs started. Okay? What do you mean, Dave, it's the market? Are you trying to tell me that if you're not a superstar, you're trying to tell me if Kobe didn't play with the Sixers instead of the Lakers, are you trying to tell me that the Sixers wouldn't have been relevant and wouldn't have been on television like on NBC like Michael Jordan was every single Sunday afternoon? You're crazy. East Coast team. Do you know the most televised division in all of football every year is the NFC East, even when it sucks? Because it's Washington, Philly, New York, and Dallas. Nobody else in any of the other divisions has that. Denver, Phoenix. Give me a break. That's why they call it the Tiffany division. The Tiffany division, you got to have a guy that makes your team relevant. Hey, let's do this on the football side of it. Watch this. Jalen can win games. The business side of it, Jalen doesn't make you relevant. He's not an exciting player. He's not. And you know what sucks? You got exciting players on the team. You know, I thought about this with this. Xander, right? I thought about this with this football team this year. Exciting. A.J. Brown, Devontae, Goddard. The defense going to be better. We're sitting here talking about a guy at the most important position on whether or not he's going to be good. Then you start thinking about how the quarterback in Phoenix just got $46.1 million. And you're going like this. Well, I know some of you are thinking this. Well, if he got 46, Jalen will. You're out of your mind. Kyler Murray is here. And John McMullen's right. Kyler Murray's here. And the rest of those guys are over here. And Jalen's down with the Tyrod Taylors. And by the way, this is not an indictment on anything except for who he was and when he was drafted and what he is. And some of you are going to go, well, what if he does this? What if he does? You're rubbing a lamp again, hoping for things. How did Murray get that money? Has he won anything? No. Did he cry in that Rams playoff game? Absolutely. Scrubbing the social media was one of the most childish things, but I guess that's the modern day guys today. Xander could probably answer more than that. So if I get mad at you, you just erase your stuff on social media. I guess that's the way to send messages now, because that's the way some people like, you know, sending smoke screens and smoke signals out to other people. Let me scrub my social media. Here, that's a smoke screen. I guess so. I don't know. I thought maybe you pick a phone up and call somebody. You know what I'm saying? How did that guy get $46.1 million? Hey, Lotus goes, Kyler Murray will not be a Hall of Famer. I completely agree. Completely agree. Okay? I want people who win by any means necessary, says Jay. Jay, that's the football side of this. You're missing out what I'm saying here. Owners are not just going to give quarterbacks that money unless you have both sides of it covered. Marketability, winner, promise, keeping you relevant. If you don't have that whole package, you're not getting that money. I don't care who you are. You're not getting it. Russell Wilson, winner, marketable, awesome wife. Now he's even in a great football city. Never thought much of Seattle. Their fan base is good, the 12th man. I'll take that back. It's a decent fan base. Okay? Denver's better, in my opinion. Bronco country. That's limited thinking. Yeah. Ask the Bidwells if limited thinking is $230.5 million when he hasn't won shit yet. Okay? Murray is quick now, but 5 years from now, absolutely, Daz. 5 years from now, here's something to think about. Would you rather have a quarterback that gets banged up a little that's great, or would you rather have a shitty quarterback for the next 5 years that's healthy? You figure that out. Would you rather have Daniel Jones for 5 years because he could take a hit? Or would you rather have a guy that can win ball games for you and makes your team relevant? I'll take that guy. I might miss a couple games, but you know what? I want to win too. And just to have a guy because he's healthy on my team, If you told me this, hey, Josh Allen is only going to play 5 years and he wins 2 Super Bowls or 1 Super Bowl, everything that the Bills did for him was worth it. You get 2 Super Bowls in his 6-year playing career, that's worth it. Well, if he plays 15 years and does shit with it, who cares? How did Kyler Murray get $230.5 million? It answers the Jalen Hurts question of why Howie Roseman is hedging his bets for 2023 and in the April draft. It completely answers it. Jalen does not check all the boxes for what a today quarterback is. That guy in Arizona, like John McMullen said, ain't good enough, but he checks the boxes. He's going to be marketed like Vic was. It's part of the business plan. See, I think sometimes, and maybe this is my fault, we fell into the solely football conversation and not the overall business model of what they're looking for. That's why they've never been sold on a particular guy, and they had knee-jerk reactions on certain things. Honestly, and you know what they'll do? They'll cover it up with a free agent. They'll see their mistakes that they make. Once they make 2 or 3 mistakes at the same position, they'll get a free agent. And they'll bring it in to cover it. Xander says this is why John said if I was Steve Keim, I'd sign Kyler too. But I'd go to sleep deep down knowing I have no chance to win a Super Bowl. Of course. Or you get exceptionally lucky. Does this sound too harsh? Because Kyler Murray's contract will affect Jalen on how the Eagles see him. You think the people at the NovaCare Center look at, here, ask yourself this question. Do you think the people at the NovaCare Center look at Jalen Hurts and see Kyler Murray? Do you think they see that? There's no way they see that. There's no way. Absolutely no way. And by the way, he's a better guy. He's probably a better leader. He's better around teammates. He doesn't act like a baby. He doesn't cry as well. Hey, by the way, Kyler Murray cried his way to $250 million. He wasn't going to show up to training camp. Oh, just in the nick of time before he showed up to camp, they gave him his money. I kept breaking this down. How did that guy get that cash, man? I mean, when I look at him, do I see Justin Herbert? No. Do I see Joe Burrow? Do I see I don't see any of that. And D Gunn's right. What's he done? Well, he made you relevant. And in today's NFL, making your team relevant, that owner knows what he can do with that. The Bidwells are banking on his popularity, his social media presence, all of that, to build facilities like they're doing in Cincinnati with Joe Burrow. Hey, football-wise, Joe Burrow, we could have great conversations. But think about this, right, Xander? How many years prior to the last 2 years, have you ever talked Bengals football? Do you remember talking Bengals football? Like ever? I can't remember. Maybe when Boomer was there or Carson Palmer. A little bit with Andy Dalton. Joe Burrow makes you talk Bengals ball now. Makes your complete franchise relevant, which means this: they can go to communities and ask for an indoor training facility, which they did and they're getting. And the community's giving it to them. That's what Bill Bidwell's family is looking at now. They're going to go build all kinds of new facilities around the community, all on the back of Kyler Murray. I guarantee you, man, he's got ambassador money that's in there too, where he's got to make appearances for the team. And he's good. Davey boy, and didn't pass for 63% until his fourth season. Small market in Arizona. You know what you missed the picture on there, Big Pickin'? Nobody cares how big your market is when you play in the NFL. Big Pickin' goes, Arizona's a small market. Well, then explain this to me, Big Pickin'. The top two quarterbacks in the NFL salary-wise, one plays in Green Bay, which is market 296, and the other plays in Glendale and makes 46.1. Those guys aren't playing in New York. They're playing in the smallest markets in the country. And they're making the most money. It doesn't matter where you play quarterback in the NFL. It matters who you are. That's why there's another dynamic. That's why the conversation keeps being brought up. And when you see the money that Lamar Jackson's going to sign for, I ask you this question. Watch this. Does Lamar make Baltimore relevant? Without him on that team, Baltimore absolutely is nobody. He's a star, man, especially in the Baltimore community. Constantly out in public. Unanimous MVP. Won over 70% of his ball games. Former Heisman Trophy winner. Showed up to camp without a new deal today. Those are the guys you pay $250 million to. You don't pay $250 million to a guy you're hoping throws for 3,500 yards. And nobody knows. Jalen Hurts is not a big name quarterback. And some of you go like this, that doesn't really matter. You're right, in winning and losing. But today's owner want relevance. Like I said, Andy Dalton won a ton of games. Ryan Tannehill wins a ton of games in Tennessee. And when Andy was in Cincinnati, I don't remember talking about those guys a lot. And quite frankly, I was shocked that Tennessee had the number one seed in the AFC last year. I was shocked. Jay goes, I live in Baltimore. Great community, and I love to see what they did down there on the Bayside there. I love what they've done. They remodeled it there next to the hotel. That place used to be a sewer down in that section. It is absolutely spectacular what they've done down there. I love what they've done to Baltimore down on that little seaside there where all those shops are set up. It's a great community, too. No elite quarterback is only throwing the ball 407 in 16 games. And yeah, Inner Harbor, thank you, Nathan. That Inner Harbor, man, like those crab shacks they got down there now. I was there a couple years ago. Fantastic. Just fantastic stuff. Sills, how much would you pay Burrow if you were the Bengals? How much would I pay them? $60 million a year. $60 million. I might start working on that now. Because if Joe Burrow duplicates what he did a year ago, that guy's going to have an open check put in front of him, and he's going to fill it in. He's going to fill it in. I'm more convinced now than ever that the Philadelphia Eagles are going to draft a quarterback next year. More so, I think it's 99.9%. Kyler Murray's here's one for you. Kyler Murray's contract makes me feel now today that the Eagles are definitely going to sign a quarterback. 99.9%, they're going to sign a quarterback. Either in the draft or they'll do something. Kyler Murray's not near good enough. Like when I look at Kyler Murray, do I go like this? Boy, I'll tell you something, man. Him and Burrow for the next couple of years are going to battle it out. I would never say that. Joe Burrow's here. Kyler Murray's here. Jalen Hurts is on the floor. I mean, and by the way, can I make it so that we all understand where I'm coming from here? I don't really care about Jalen Hurts' feelings or anything about who he is as a professional. I don't care. I'm sure he's a great dude. Hey, man, I'd like to know the guy. He seems awesome. I'm talking football and business here. And when you put your emotions in the way of that, that's where most businesses go out of business. When you start putting your professional feelings involved in it, that's where things go sideways. You keep a guy 2 years too long, like they did in Pittsburgh with Roethlisberger. You see Big Ben moaning and bitching about how Kevin Colbert wanted to move off him. Well, after last year's performance, Ben, he was right. You sucked. You sucked. Of course he wanted to move off you. He probably wanted to make a play for Russell Wilson. He was right, because you know what they're stuck with this year? Ben, Mitchell Trubisky, and Kenny Pickett. Thanks a lot. If I'm Mike Tomlin, I go, yeah, great. Either work in a new young rookie quarterback or have some has-been or guy who failed at another place in my building, and I got to try to resurrect this guy's career. That's what Mike Tomlin has in front of him. And Ben's going, yeah, they wanted to move me up, but the owner kept me. Yeah, because the owner put emotions ahead of business. And that shocks me for Pittsburgh. Okay? That shocks me for Pittsburgh. 5-star says, Sills, no one knows the future. That's right. Somebody asked this question to me yesterday about Kyler Murray, 5-star. How'd he get the money? He hasn't done anything. Well, I know this. He's made that team relevant today. Jalen Hurts doesn't make the Eagles relevant today. Kyler Murray has sold the public. And that's what the Bidwells are buying. The Bidwells bought talent and marketability. That's what the NFL quarterback is today. Marketability and talent. Got to have both. And how about this? Kyler Murray talent, which isn't elite. And yet he's being paid elite because he's Kyler Murray. I think Kyler Murray, how many playoff games do you think he wins in the next 10 years? 3? 4? They're not buying that. They're not buying that. They're buying Kyler Murray, the business. They want to be in business with Kyler Murray. They like the Kyler Murray business. Cincinnati has a Ferrari, or basically found a pot of gold. And the problem with that is the pot of gold is going to run out. And they're not going to, they may pay him. I don't know. So you're saying you would kick the tires on Jimmy G? I don't. Bidwells want that face of a franchise like they did with Fitzgerald. It's marketable. Absolutely. Eric, correct, sir. Projection paid. They're selling the illusion. Success. Hey, can I, would you allow me, hey, Xander, would you allow me to do everything and say everything that Kyler Murray brings to the Arizona Cardinals and the Phoenix community? He's a gifted athlete. He's a modern day athlete. He's marketable. He's African American in a state that's going through a transition right now with Californians moving to Arizona. Okay? He's marketable. Having an African American as the head, as your face of your franchise is wonderful. It's great for the growth of the league. We need this. We need this. The impression of having an open NFL today versus back in the day where that position wasn't really being brought up for African Americans. You got that now going. Look at all the high paid. It's wonderful for the NFL. It's signature. Everything. And by the way, they're not doing that just for that. They're doing that because it's the right thing to do. All of that plays into $230.5 million. Okay? Jalen has none of that. How many years has Kyler Murray? Can you guys tell me? How many years has Kyler Murray been in the NFL? Okay, how many years has he been in the league? You guys, can you tell me? Okay. How many years? Is it 3? Is it 3 years he's been in the league? Did he come in the same year that Jalen did? Did he come in to the NFL the same year? 4 years. Okay. 4 years. So I think he came in the NFL. Okay, I think he came in the NFL 1 year before Jalen did, I think. Okay, which, guys, because if it's 3, he came in the same year with Jalen. Drafted in 2019. Okay, well, then he came in with Jalen. So hang on here. 19, 20, 21. Okay, it's a year before. Okay. When I look at Kyler Murray and what he's done in the NFL, okay, and I look at that, when I think of Arizona Cardinal football, I think of Kyler Murray. I don't think of DeAndre Hopkins. I don't think of Larry Fitzgerald anymore. Hey, man, it's just a conversation on how Arizona, you know what it is too? Guys, it's more of a conversation on how Arizona got to that number. How do you get to that number? Like Derek Gunn said today, how do you get to that number without having done anything? Well, when you look at everything, the business side of it, the relevance factor, how many times they're going to be on national television. That brand grows because of him. Also, gambling's going to be a major component in this thing. Dude. Andy Reid brought relevance, but I'm sure relevance wasn't the goal. No, but the $500 million, Gordon, when they gave Patrick Mahomes the $500 million, it was then. It was then. You're right. When they drafted him out of Texas Tech, that wasn't part of the equation. They bought the Patrick Mahomes brand after they saw what they had. When it came, Patrick Mahomes is in Kansas City, one of the smaller cities in America, and he's one of the faces of the league. You don't have to be in Dallas, Philly, New York, or LA to be the face of the NFL. You don't. You know what's funny? John Morant. Look at John Morant. What team does he play for? Memphis? John Morant and Zion Williamson. One guy's in New Orleans and the other guy's in Memphis. Big deal. Big deal. Nobody cares about Pelican or Memphis, but they care about the Chiefs. Okay? They care about the Chiefs. Mahomes is on a brand. The Kansas City Chiefs, Aaron Rodgers is a market 293 or whatever it is. And he's making $50 million. Hey, Birdman, it won't matter if Hurts balls out. Balls out how? Outplays Dak? Not happening. Outplays Wentz? Not happening. He's not better than Kyler Murray, dude. What do you mean balls out? Protects the football? 20 touchdowns, 3,500 passing yards? Great. Those are irrelevant numbers. Completely irrelevant. Dude, you got to sell that position today in the NFL. I think you guys are missing it. What I'm saying here. I'm not telling you that he's not going to win games. I'm telling you he doesn't make your team relevant. And some of you go, well, I don't care. Spoken like a fan. Remember what a fan is today in the NFL and how the owners look at you. You cheer at stadiums you build for them. I hate to be that, but it is. You are fans that cheer at stadiums you build for owners. That's how they see you. Well, you think they try to cut good deals with local communities? Hey, when you become a billionaire in life, it's not because you cut fair deals with people. When you're a millionaire, what, you think you became a millionaire because you got good business partners? You take advantage of people. Every day you can. The good ones try to do it as kind as they can. But you're still a millionaire. Smile says Jeffrey Lurie is choking right now seeing that Kyler Murray contract. No, he's not. Because he already knows what he has in the building. He's looking for the next dude. I've never seen an unpopular winner. Okay, let's see. Joe Flacco. Who? Yeah, he was the face of the Ravens. I've never seen it unpopular. Really? Okay. How many people have you seen go on and win things and nobody knows who your name is the next day? Dude, there's a reason that Kyler Murray got $230.5 million. Okay? There's a reason that he got that much money. Big picking, great one. Tim Duncan, most unmarketable superstar on the planet. And you know what? If you put his resume up to Shaq's, you would say, if you took the names away from Tim Duncan and Shaquille O'Neal, you'd go like this. Tim Duncan had more titles than Shaq? Can that possibly be? Yeah. He's got 5 titles. Shaq's got 4. Really? And he did it in one place. The big fundamental was the most unmarketable NBA superstar of all time and one of the greatest winners of all time that nobody cared about. Couldn't market it. And you know why you couldn't market that Spurs team? They were foreign players. Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker. You weren't going to market that. That's why nobody wanted to see the Spurs in the finals. They're boring. The only thing that wasn't boring about the Spurs is they're now today a relevant coach in Greg Popovich. You know, the Spurs haven't made it to the playoffs in 6 years. And now they just traded away another young star because nobody wants to put up with that guy. How did you get to $230 million is my thing. Hey, we are looking at today the next opponent. We've been going over the schedule for the Eagles. Coming out of the bye, got the Steelers. So we're going to take a look at the Steelers. We're going to do that. I also have a comment about Howie Roseman. Please hit the like button. Don't forget my friends at Morgan & Morgan, where the fee is free. Guys, promise you this. If you're hurt or injured on the job, one of the most important things that you can possibly have for your family is the right attorney representing you in the courtroom. For the people is not a slogan. This is what they are, and this is who they represent, the people. Past 30 years, they've collected over $13.5 billion with a powerful law firm of 800 people strong. That's right. Offices in Philly, New York, and in Florida. Make no mistake about it. No such thing as a fender bender when you call Morgan & Morgan. That number, 800-512-1600. That's 800-512-1600. Call us free. Consultations free. 800-512-1600. Look, open 24/7, 7 days a week. Do me a favor. When you call Morgan & Morgan, tell them Big Sil sent you.
When choosing a lawyer for your injury case, you may ask, does the size of the law firm matter? Well, of course it does. The insurance company, they're huge with unlimited resources. And whether your case is big or small, they're built to bully you out of the money you're owed. But here's the good news. We're big too, the biggest actually. And we're built to fight to make them pay for all that was taken from you. Size is our strength. There's only one Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com.
Go for the pulls and the pools. Go for the oohs and the ahs. Go for the bubbles and the bubbly. Go for the story and the stories. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
At Action News, we cherish every moment, and it's our profound responsibility to bring you closer to your world. Never miss a moment. Trust the people at Action News.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on three. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass, free.
What's that?
A rocks glass?
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that. Holy shit.
And you're telling me I can get one of these glasses for free?
That's right. One free rocks glass per customer with each first-time purchase of Stateside Vodka. So good, it just disappears.
Welcome back. National Football Show. It's your boy, Big Skills. Please hit the like button. Thank you so much. Who said that about Mike Trout? Big Pickin' seemed to have some good takes today. Imagine if Mike Trout played in a big market. He plays in L.A. Can I tell you this? Bryce Harper is worth the money. Mike Trout's not. Mike Trout doesn't sell the Angels. Mike Trout doesn't sell baseball. Bryce Harper sells baseball in Philly. Okay? He's worth that $340-some-odd million contract that he signed. Won an MVP. He's marketable. He's got a tough exterior about himself. He looks like Philly in them pinstripes. He's worth it. Marketability. Mike Trout is maybe the greatest center fielder we've seen since Ken Griffey and Mantle. Nobody would pick him out in a mall. You put Mike Trout in a mall, nobody would know who he was. You put Bryce Harper in a mall in Philly, everyone knows who he is. You put Mike Trout in a mall in LA, nobody knows who he is. Okay? Now, Jay says, you put him in a Yankee uniform. Well, we're talking about marketability. The Yankees spent an entire 200 years marketing that brand. First to have numbers, first to have pinstripes, first to have one of the electric stadiums that you see today. Yankee Stadium was one of the first. They've spent billions marketing that brand. Hey, you put Mike Trout, that's why you, watch this. I'll make a point to you on something else. You put Derek Jeter in Kansas City, or you put him in Milwaukee. You know who he is? He's robbing you out. You put Derek Jeter in Milwaukee, he's robbing you out. Okay? Paul Molitor, somebody like that. You put him in New York in pinstripes, and you put the number 2 on him, you got something going here. And he's good. Marketability. Marketability. That's how Kyler Murray got that money. That's how he got that cash. Let me throw something at you, too, because we'll do this at the top of the hour, okay? We'll take a look at the Steelers. That is the Week 8 opponent for the Eagles. We'll take a look at that, and we'll do that at the top here. Let me throw something at you here. Derek Barnett. What year was Derek Barnett drafted? I tweeted this out. Derek Barnett was drafted in 2017. It's always fun to go back and look. I had one guy go like this. Well, Sills, you could do this with every GM. Yeah, but the GM in Philly always seems to miss on guys, especially edge rushers and guys like that. Do a good job in the O-line, but you can't pick a wide receiver to save your life. You can't pick a quarterback to save your life. Your linebackers, you had to go get a corner from Detroit. Wasn't like you're drafting all these guys. So Derek Barnett was drafted in 17, right? What was he, 14th? 14th pick overall? Well, here's who Howie passed up. Jonathan Allen and T.J. Watt. Go back and you say this. Sills, other guys miss. Man, then you add in the Ragers and the J-Jaws, and you start putting all that in there, and you go, this is Grammy. Last 2 years have been good, right? Yeah, they've landed on some guys. You passed on Jonathan Allen, and you passed on T.J. Watt. You probably passed on Allen because Fletcher was still playing Fletcher Cox football, and you have Hargrave, so probably I get it. But you passed on a pass rushing edge guy from Wisconsin and T.J. Watt, and you need that position, especially if you're going to track down Dak in the East. If you're the Eagles, what is the number one thing that you have to do? You have to beat Dallas, like we said yesterday, which means you have to pressure Dak and defend the aerial attack. Okay? That's how you beat Dallas. So you need a pass rusher? Well, what'd they have to do? To cover for the Watt miss, they go and get Hassan Reddick. The cover for the secondary misses, they had to go get Darius. Do you understand connecting the dots here? Every time that guy makes a mistake in the draft, he covers it with a free agent or a trade. Can't pick a wideout. Goes gets A.J. Brown. Passed on an edge rusher. Got to go get Hassan Reddick. You missed on TJ. Can't get a corner. Go get Darius Slay. It's pretty slick. On these one-year deals, too. It's pretty slick, isn't it? And if some of these other positions pan out, you're like, hey, you had a good draft. And you're like, yeah, but what about the premier positions that they're missing on? Edge rusher, quarterback, wideout, corner. All four of those positions, they've missed on it for the last decade. Am I wrong? Savvy. No, I'm going back over. You missed what? And again, I get the Jonathan Allen deal because, 17, Fletcher's still Fletcher in 17, right? Fletcher's still Fletcher. So you're probably not looking at that. I get, but the Watt deal, you need to pull down Dak. Nathan goes, missing in the draft is because of holding on to dudes. Dude, you're dead on. You're dead on. Nathan, dead on. Holding on to guys too long because you don't want your department to look bad. Like this Jalen Reagor and this Derek Barnett and these the J-Jaw. I mean, why are you giving roster spots away? What? You could be fundamentally using those roster spots for players that'll be impactful on your team and special teams, which, by the way, that's where this affects. Can I tell you something here? Think about this for a second here. Xander, follow me. Special teams is a factor and an issue for the Eagles last year, correct? Can you imagine if Derek Barnett, you get him off the team. You get a guy that can play maybe. You got enough depth on your front seven now. You get a tweener. Okay? J-Jaw, Reagor. Dude, get some special team demons. How do you think Wes Welker landed in New England and Amendola and also Edelman? How do you think those guys landed in New England? They started out as special teams gurus. Brady and Belichick and Josh McDaniel made them into position players because it started on special teams. Can I tell you why Belichick is brilliant on special teams and you guys want to bring up to me N'Keal Harry all the time. You guys want me to show you something? When they were in New York, Bill Belichick and Bill Parcells, do you know who the kickoff team was? Harry Carson, Lawrence Taylor, Carl Banks, Pepper Johnson, all those guys on defense. Their starting 11 was their kickoff team. And they'd run down that field and kick the shit out of you. And their best players versus your crappy players. How many times do you always remember starting out in bad field position because Lawrence Taylor's knocking the shit out of somebody down there? On the kickoff team. Bill does the same thing. He looks for quality guys. Then they turn them into position players. That's why New England, N'Keal Harry's a bust. Amendola and Edelman and Welker weren't. Okay, you got me on, but I got 6 Super Bowls out of it. All right, let's take a timeout. I want to hit on the Steelers at the top of the hour. Football is right here. I mean, I'm jacked. I'm more jacked up. I'm not ticked off. I'm jacked up because I'm excited about the upcoming season. Please hit the like button. Hour 2, keep it here on the National Football Show.
Go for the pulls and the pools. Go for the oohs and the ahs. Go for the bubbles and the bubbly. Go for the story and the stories. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
At Action News, we cherish every moment, and it's our profound responsibility to bring you closer to your world. Never miss a moment. Trust the people at Action News.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on three. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass. Free.
What's that?
A rocks glass?
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that. Holy shit.
And you're telling me I can get one of these glasses for free?
That's right. One free rocks glass per customer with each first-time purchase of Stateside Vodka. So good, it just disappears.
Hour 2, National Football Show. It's your boy, Big Sales. Appreciate everyone coming aboard. Please hit the like button. Howard Balzer from Sports Illustrated covering the Arizona Cardinals will be with us. How did the Bidwell family get to $230.5 million? And how does this really affect how you see Jalen Hurts? Because the comparisons people have been making here on this program have gone to Kyler. And I happen to agree with John McMullen. I don't see it. By the way, we had a conversation with Brian Westbrook. He said that he's tied up today, so he's going to be with us next week. So he promised he's coming aboard next week, so we will have Brian Westbrook next week with us too. So please hit the like button. Thank you so much. Look, I want everyone to know this. There's the business side of this stuff here with the NFL now when you're paying that kind of money out. You know, no longer are you going to just give a quarterback $50 million or $35 million just to throw the football, get in his car and go home. There's more to this now. The NFL is a global brand now. Aaron Rodgers is a global figure like Cristiano Ronaldo. Okay? You're making the money that these NBA guys are making, and you're thinking like I said about Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray makes more money right now than the entire Oakland Athletics roster. Okay? Talk about a business decision. Brilliant. Going to be somewhere in Piscataway, New Jersey, playing in the A's minor league system, or someplace in Phoenix For 3 years, nobody knows who my name is. I'm on national television. I'm constantly being marketed. My brand is growing. My business is growing. All the things I want to do outside of football. Look at LeBron James, what he does. Athletes today, it's about growing a brand. You become a brand. You're a business. The Bidwell family wanted to get into the Kyler Murray business. That's why they gave that money. Okay? Hey, by the way, Deshaun Watson shows up to training camp today. He's there. He's at training camp with all that stuff over his shoulder. And the Browns want to be in the Deshaun Watson business, even with all that going on. His talent, they think, is going to be able to overcome all this and grow the Browns brand because they know they have a rabid fan base that will forget all that BS. Hey, it's one thing about, love my guy. He's great. Kyler Murray can't be any more different than Jalen Hurts. Moody, moans, pouts. You're not sure if he's a great teammate. You've heard other teammates talk shit on him too. Still got his 230. I mean, right? This guy, it's almost like James Harden. James Harden ate his way out of Houston, cried his way out of Brooklyn, and now he's decided to do the right thing and take less money and invest in himself. I actually admire that. I think Harden's going to come in and he's going to play the best basketball he's played in 3 years, in my opinion. Because he signed that contract where he gets an option to opt out of that thing and get more money from the Sixers at the end of next year. Good for him, man. He knows things weren't going great. Probably all started in Houston when he was fat and out of shape, going to strip clubs. He had a horrible year starting at the beginning of the season before he even got to Brooklyn. Greg goes, Sills, the Browns are starving for a football team and a Super Bowl team. Greg, they're starving for a team that puts them in the window of being a Super Bowl contender. Every team and every fan base likes showing up every year going like this. We got a shot to win it all. Hey, let me ask you this. Didn't you guys have a lot of fun when you had the McNabb years and you guys were going to all those NFC championship games saying that this could possibly be the year? How much fun was that era of football? How much fun was the era of football with Gang Green? The 2017 season, you know what it was? It was a shot in the dark, and it caught everybody off guard. And you didn't really get a chance to cheer that thing on, did you? But when you were competitive with McNabb's teams, you were there for 5 years. 5 years. You went into every year. You were in every July in that 5 years going, man, we're going to be in the NFC title game, and let's just go take our 4 swings. Wasn't that fun? That's the Donovan McNabb business. That's what you invest in. Put you in the building for 5 years. Makes you relevant. That 17 team, Eagle fans, it's a great moment in history, but you really didn't get a chance to celebrate it outside of the parade. That McNabb era, though, you had 5 years of build-up and shit-talking, hype, going to games, rooting against the Cowboys, rooting against the Giants, and all that. I mean, it was fun. Buccaneers and you having those rivalries. Jim Johnson's defenses. Pretty fun, wasn't it? Right? Big picking. I like it. Joy and pain, Sills. Hey, Every team that beat us in the NFC Championship game went on to win a Super Bowl. They a double O. I didn't know that. That is really awful to read. But in a way, it's a little bit redeeming. I did not know that. Russell goes, I still talk shit now. That's because you're an Eagle. Hey, wait a minute. You think you're a shit talker if you live in Cincinnati and you're rooting for the Bengals? Okay? Do you think you're a shit talker if you're a Tennessee Titan? I don't think so. If you're here are the shit talking fans. Patriots, Eagles, Browns, who else? Those are pretty much your shit. Well, Chicago wants to, but they can't. Okay, I'm trying to think of shit-talking fans. Right? Panthers lost in 2003, that's right. Strip clubs just don't leave VIP. But that era was fun, man. That era was fun. All right. As I've been talking here, we've been going over the games that the Eagles are going to play week 8. I got the Steelers. And to me, this game here with the Pittsburgh Steelers, it's kind of funny, isn't it, where the Steelers are right now. You see, and I've already kind of told you a little bit, Ben Roethlisberger crying. Well, the owner wanted me, but the general manager didn't. Well, he was right. You sucked last year. But for the first time in 17 years, there's no Ben Roethlisberger since 2004. And that is a dilemma for this team. But you know what you do have? You do have Mike Tomlin. One of my favorite coaches and a coach that I'd love to play for is Mike Tomlin. I love Mike Tomlin. But for the first time, like I said, since 2004, you've got to determine if you're going to go to battle with Mitchell Trubisky or Kenny Pickett. You want to hear something? Could the Steelers possibly and potentially finish last in the North? Whew. Wow. When's the last time you've seen anything like that, right? Hey, Xander, your boy Najee Harris, I think he had 381 carries. 381 carries for Najee Harris at 1,200 yards and 7 touchdowns. The pick panned out. God, can you imagine Najee Harris playing for the Eagles? That's who I wanted the Eagles to draft. Xander, I wanted the Eagles to draft Najee Harris. I didn't want Devontae. I wanted Najee. You imagine Najee Harris running behind Jalen Hurts? And now you got A.J. Brown. You would have went out and drafted another guy this year in the draft. At wideout, you would have had a rookie wideout, A.J. Brown, Najee Harris, Dallas Goedert, and Jalen Hurts. I like Najee. I've always thought that team needed more of a beast of a running back, somebody like a Shady. By the way, Pro Football Focus has ranked the Pittsburgh Steelers O-line the 30th worst O-line in the league. Put that in there. 30th worst O-line. They're the Pittsburgh Steelers, and Najee Harris got 1,200 rushing yards last year. Okay? Not a very good offensive line. They've got some players at wide receiver, Johnson and Chase Claypool. I think they're pretty good. I think they added the kid George Pickens from Georgia, if I'm not mistaken. So there's some weapons, but again, it's all going to come down to the quarterback play. You want to hear something crazy about the Pittsburgh Steelers? And by the way, can I tell you guys something? Okay? Crab says, YouTube won't let me name myself shit talking fan. Hey, algorithms. Can I tell you what? Okay, watch this. Guys, please remember I told you this. The Pittsburgh Steelers a year ago gave up 146 yards a game rushing. 5 yards a clip. If I see Jalen Hurts throw the ball over 30 times in that football game, I want the coach fired. I don't care they have TJ Watt and Cam Hayward. They can't stop the run. And it's amazing for me to say that with a Mike Tomlin defense. This is Mike Tomlin's forte, and it has fallen apart in the last 5 years, that defense. You gave up 150 yards rushing a game? That's got to be the worst in Steeler history, or at least back into the 50s. Okay? The Steelers gave up 5 yards of play on the ground. 146 per game. Dude. Eagles, you throw the ball in that game, you're going to lose that game. Because the one thing they do have is TJ Watt, who gets around. Their secondary sucks. Okay? That thing, it will improve, but how much? How much do you think you can improve after getting run over the way you did a year ago? I'm going to tell you something here, man. The Steeler defense is terrible. And they got TJ Watt, and they got 2 perennial all-pros, not Pro Bowlers, all-pros on the team. And Cam and TJ Watt, and they can't stop running water. That secondary's terrible, Mike. One of the worst in the league. Greg says that the Steelers are missing Levon Kirkland and James Harrison. Greg, you know who they're missing? Ryan Shazier. Ryan Shazier is a modern-day linebacker that's almost like a Tampa 2 linebacker. Used to be the Gronk killer and the Travis Kelce killer. That guy could play the run, stuff the run, play linebacking against some of the best tight ends, and he was a force. When that kid got paralyzed, I say this to you. The loss of Ryan Shazier in the last 7 years in Pittsburgh has been more destructive of a loss of Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell, because the defense today is awful. That guy was the centerpiece that kept that thing together. Shazier was an absolute beast. Brian Flores should be the D coordinator for the Steelers, not an assistant. Trev, I think he'll probably morph into that position. They don't really have like egos in Pittsburgh when it comes to coordinating. You know, if a guy's a coordinator versus a general manager. I mean, Kevin Colbert was really never named general manager until the last 5 years, and he was there for 20. It's not like that there in Pittsburgh. They don't handle their business like that. So it's going to be more where he's going to have an impact. Look at what he did in Miami with the Miami Dolphins defense. He did a great job with that defense. Recruited pass rushers, improved the run-stopping game. One of the reasons why the Dolphins have really started to improve over the last 3 years is because of the way Brian Flores retooled that defense in Miami. It wasn't so much what they were doing on offense. They were butting heads most of the time on offense. Because why? Brian Flores believes in play action, throw into the slot. So he believed in all of that. But he wanted Deshaun Watson to be the quarterback of the football team. He wanted his version of Brady. He spent 17 years in New England. And he knows what a signature quarterback means to a franchise. He didn't want Tua. He doesn't think much of Tua. Hey, how about this? How much do I think of Tua? I don't know. I think he's a dude. We'll see. I think he's made of paper mache, too. Guy's always hurt. Okay? He's just learning to read defenses. Now? NFL? Really? Okay, kid. Good luck. Good luck against Sean McDermott. That's McDermott's forte. He's putting defensive skilled game plans together against people who don't know what the hell they're doing. Remember, he was a defensive guy in Philly. This guy's not an offensive-minded guy. Got Ken Dorsey now as the OC there. And I think the quarterback coach. Hey, Trev, he is the OC, right, Trev? I think he's the OC now in Buffalo. The Dolphins offense went through 4 telephones with play calling. Yeah, dude. Ken Dorsey's the OC? Yeah, okay, good. Was a quarterback coach. That's right. Got elevated after Dable got the head coaching job with New York. What's up, Maniac? Hopefully you're doing well, man. 5 yards a game. Look, here's what I say with Pittsburgh. I say the Steelers finished in last place in the AFC North. Does this mean it's the first losing season for Mike Tomlin? I think they'll eke out something. Mike's too good a coach, but it's going to be a struggle. And you want to hear something that's now a new benchmark? Can I tell you what the new benchmark is in Pittsburgh? It's not Super Bowls anymore. It's not having a losing season. That's your benchmark in Pittsburgh now? So you've gone from being a Tiffany franchise to being, well, Mike Tomlin's never had a losing season. That's not good enough. I don't care what coach you. Hey, Bill Belichick hasn't won a playoff game. Do you know? Wait, let me tell you this too. I don't think the Steelers have won a playoff game since 2016. I don't think they've won a playoff game since 16. Playoff games since 2016. The Steelers. Man, that's crazy. That really is, man. Utterly remarkable. All right. I got to tell you, and I'm going to tell you one more time, this is how we started our program out. And I want Howard to hear this before we bring him on here. The reason that they are now paying $230.5 to Kyler Murray, in my opinion, because this guy's made him relevant. They're paying for the marketability. Hey, watch this. Moody, I'm not sure about his maturity. Well, somehow he's fallen in or cried his ass with his agent into $230.5 million. He's going to be the modern-day Vic. Michael Vick didn't win big games. He won one big game. What, Green Bay up there? This guy wasn't about winning Super Bowls. It was about being relevant in Atlanta Thursday night, Sunday night, Monday night. Prior to Kyler Murray showing up in Arizona, the Bidwells were a joke. Couple years here, Ken Wisenhunt, sure, okay. But now you got something you can market. Let's bring my friend in from SI, Howard Balzer. Howard, I kept thinking all night last night, how did this guy get to $230.5 million, 46.1, second highest paid guy? It's because he checks all the boxes, man. I mean, he's marketable. He makes him relevant. You want to watch him. He's got a Vic factor to him. Hey, watch this. Do I think he's mature? Probably not. Is he moody when he maybe made a business decision in that Rams game, which I hated? But still, the Bidwells are in the Kyler Murray business now. Is that how he got to that number where they wanted to be in the Kyler Murray business?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think that's a big part of it. You've hit on something. I do want to ask you, though. You said the business decision in the Rams game. I'm not sure what you –
Well, I thought personally for me, I thought to me it looked like he was making business decisions in that game, laying down. I didn't think he played hard in that game.
Well, I don't know many players on that team that did play hard in that game. The offensive line was a sieve. They had a lot of guys playing in that game aside from Kyler Murray who weren't healthy, that probably would not have played had it been a regular season game. I'm not making excuses. I'm just stating facts.
No, I'm going to take your word, Howard. If you think that he played hard in that ball game.
Well, I think he got frustrated. Absolutely. I think he became, that one interception he threw when he was being, under siege in the end zone when it was already a 2-touchdown game, and he just flung the ball forward and it was intercepted, I think, at the 3-yard line and run in for a touchdown, and all of a sudden it's 21-0. There's no question that he was frustrated by everything that was happening to that point with the offense, where they couldn't run. They had two banged up running backs playing. They had an offensive line that had been ground down by injury. The defense was not playing well, and they had guys playing on injured, like I said, that probably wouldn't have played if it was a regular season game. So I think all I'll say is he had a lot of company in that game with what happened. But to your main point, hey, in this day and age, when you have a quarterback, and like you said, I mean, the Cardinals had a pretty good quarterback they got to the Super Bowl with, in recent memory when Bruce Arians was the head coach with Carson Palmer. Then once he was gone, it was, okay, who's going to be our next guy? And they drafted Josh Rosen. They brought in Sam Bradford. And so when they drafted Kyler Murray, they said, hey, we believe this is going to be the guy that can take us places. And all he's done is do things that no other quarterback in history have done. And granted, they haven't won yet. There's no doubt about it. Lamar Jackson was pretty awful in his first playoff game too. So all my point is when you have a guy that you believe you can build around, and if you choose not to, then the big question is, well, who are we going to get now? And we see how teams chase quarterbacks in this league all the time, and many times don't come up with the with the best, with the right one or the best decision. Then, hey, you pay the guy the going rate, and that's what it comes down to. I will say this, starting to get a little sampling of the way a lot of this contract breaks down. The Cardinals put in things in there that are team friendly, that are part of the deal, like over $9 million in off-season workout bonuses. My point is, you talk about being mature. My point is, if you have a guy who really wants to win that bad, why do you have to put that kind of money in there to come to the off-season program, right? But there's
how about those game day bonuses that if he's active for games,
right?
That's like protecting him also too, right,
Exactly.
Howard?
I was gonna get to that next, the per game bonuses. So there are things in there that do protect the team, somewhat in terms of paying out all this money. And so yes, it was trumpeted as usual by the national reporters, who really, in my mind, don't do their job of actually reporting. All they do is get a text from the agent. These agents send out group texts, and all they put is 5 years. This is for any guy, but I'll use Murray's numbers. 5 years, $230.5 million, $160 million guaranteed. Those numbers aren't wrong, but that $160 million is not fully guaranteed. Deshaun Watson got $230 million fully guaranteed at signing. Kyler Murray got a little over, I think it's about $103 million fully guaranteed. Now, chances are a lot of those guarantees will turn into real guarantees, but maybe some of them won't. If he continues to get injured, be injured like he has the last 2 seasons, there are some protections for the Cardinals. And so I think that's significant, at least, to point out in terms of what they want to see from this guy. I was joking with guys at the press conference. I just got back from it about the offseason bonus. And I said, oh, maybe there's a bonus in there for showing up on time for press conferences, which he was on time today, by the way. Maybe there's a bonus in there for when you're being, run down in the end zone, not to throw the ball up in the air in frustration. Maybe there's some bonuses, for that. So obviously there's areas that he has to get better. And he acknowledged that in the press conferences. I realized, someone asked him, what have you learned through this process? And he said, hey, I've learned I've got to get better. I have to continue to work, to get better. And so, we'll see where it goes from here. But much of what you said certainly is accurate, because it does make the Cardinals relevant. And the reality is this guy's been, quote, and I say quote because what does it mean if you're an MVP favorite in week 7? And all that is Las Vegas odds that change every week. But he's still been in the conversation as a potential MVP the first half of the last 2 seasons, and then it fell off the cliff for the entire team after that. So, we'll see what happens this year. But, they've got the guy they believe they can build around, and with Cliff Kingsbury, the coach, who also received a contract extension this offseason through 2027. Funny thing is they're going to be opening, Dan, a sports book inside State Farm Stadium when the season opens. And so, hey, there won't be craps games, but they're rolling the dice. The Kingsbury and Murray are the guys to take them where they want to get to, because they know if they're not, then they're going to be starting over at some point.
That's totally where you're getting your contract money from, will be from that sports book.
Yeah.
That's going to be there in Glendale. Well, let me ask, Howard, you've been around everybody. Do you believe in your heart that Kyler Murray can lead that football team to a Super Bowl?
Well, yeah, with his ability, yes, I think he can. The question will be, obviously, to get to the Super Bowl after 17 regular season games and a minimum of 3 playoff games and maybe 4, then you have to be healthy for that 21st game. And to me, that's the elephant in the room. It still is, to me. And granted, there's some things in the contract that protect them, surrounding that. But the bottom line is, to win, you've got to be able to win in November and December and finish the season strong, and then play well in playoff games against the other best teams in your conference, and then in the other conference to be in the Super Bowl. So, yeah, if he's healthy and the team is healthy around him, they have just as good a chance of winning as anybody. I truly believe that.
I would say this to you. If you see another one of those 4-7 fades late in the year like you've seen the last couple of years here, I don't know, man. Might be a thing and a place for Sean Payton. I mean, you're going to invest that kind of money. You better get the most out of that guy.
Right.
And Cliff Kingsbury, I say this to you. 7-0, I thought the Cardinals were one of the best teams, if not the best team in the NFL last year. And then after that, and I saw those guys limp home, I went, wow, what a fade, man. I mean, is Kingsbury the guy there, in your opinion?
Well, I think he's getting better as a head coach. And I think he gets a little inward. I mean, everyone blames the coach. It's either the coach or the quarterback and the play caller. But in this case, the head coach and the play caller are the same guy in Cliff Kingsbury. So they're the ones that always get blamed. And everyone pulls that whole narrative out of he's always finished poorly as a head coach in the NFL, when he's been a head coach even in college. Well, how can anyone with a straight face use Texas Tech as an example? They weren't a very good football team. Your first 4 games you're going to win because you're not playing very good teams. Then you win a couple games against the other bad teams in the Big 12, and then when you're playing Texas, Texas and Oklahoma, Texas A&M, you're going to lose those games because you're not.
Hey, Howard, I'm not beating the Longhorns with the Longhorn scrubs.
Well, you're not going to beat those teams, but everyone pulls that out as if it's all on Cliff Kingsbury, and so. But that's why I say, and I go back to that whole running thing. I was on an interview and someone said, well, he's the only player in history in his first 3 years to have 70 touchdown passes and 20 rushing touchdowns. Well, here's the thing to me. Can he continue to have those rushing touchdowns with the way he plays and at his size? And it's not Kyler Murray's fault that he's only 5'10", but that's just who he is and what he is. And
so it's a durability issue with you.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. That's the thing. Two seasons ago, when he injured, that was year. He had 11 rushing touchdowns that season. I think 10 of them came in like the first part of the year. Then he injured his shoulder against Seattle. It wasn't his throwing shoulder, so that's okay. But he didn't run after that because he didn't want to get hit, and he was protecting that shoulder. And so all of a sudden, when he's not able to do that part of his game, he's not as good a player, and defenses know it. Defenses then don't have to worry about him running when he shows he's not going to run. And so that's a big part of it. And last year, he wasn't running as much when they were 7-0 and then 10-2. He wasn't running as much, but he still did it when he had to. Once he hurt his ankle, missed 3 games and came back, he wasn't nearly as mobile. He was playing with a bad ankle, high ankle sprain. And when he came back, he wasn't the same guy, and he wasn't as mobile, and teams could rush him differently because he wasn't able to escape as quickly and as easily as he could when he didn't have the injured ankle. And so that durability is a question. And here's an interesting thing with the contract. In 16 days, I think it is, August the 7th, he will be 25. So he's still a young quarterback. His best years are ahead of him. But when he gets to be 28, 29, he'll be 31 in the last year of this contract if he plays it all out with the Cardinals. 31. Is he going to be the same runner, the same guy then as he is now at 23 and 24 and 25 years old? I kind of doubt it.
Howard, history
that
shows
will be the key to the rest of his career.
Howard, history shows us with Cam and Vic and these running quarterbacks that the NFL is still trying to figure out how to legislate these guys on the field. Do you treat them like a quarterback? Do you treat them like a running back? Do you somewhere fall in the middle? And if you're a running quarterback, I don't think the ceiling's high. I don't think you have a high ceiling with that style of play. And this is why we see the 7-steppers still to this day, like we saw back in the 70s. Those are the guys that carry you across the finish line. It's not these mobile guys. So, I mean, durability, I see where you're saying now. Durability is the big issue for this team if they're going to be successful.
And what's interesting is his injuries that have occurred in the last 2 seasons have come not when he was running the ball. Because the one thing he does very well, and I've been amazed by it, is when he does decide to run, he protects himself very, very. He knows when to slide. He knows when to get out of bounds. And I've rarely seen him take a big hit running the football. But his injuries have come in the pocket. Some of them are when he's trying to escape because there's been a pass rush, but that's how he hurt his shoulder. That's how he hurt his ankle against Green Bay. He was trying to evade the rush, and he kind of twisted in a little weird direction, and the guy twist, and he suffered a high ankle sprain. And so how much of some of those injuries are because he's a smaller guy? Hard to say. But all of that is in the whole package that is Kyler Murray. And that's why I say to be absolute, they'll be relevant with him certainly to a degree no matter what. But in terms of winning a championship and surviving the grind, who knows? By the time he's 30, 31, these teams might be playing 18 regular season games for all we know. But it's 17 now, and that's a grind. I mean, that's a grind to get through all that and to remain healthy, not only with the running, but hey, no matter who you are, you're going to get hit in the pocket. But, you mentioned Sean Payton. Look at Drew Brees. He was a small guy, but he didn't run. He was a pure pocket quarterback, and he had a tremendous release. They protected him for the most part, and he was obviously as smart as any quarterback who's ever played the game. And he started getting some injuries late, but he didn't have a lot of injuries early. Well, he did have the shoulder injury very early, but after that, he stayed pretty, mostly healthy. And that was because they knew they had to protect him, and he knew he had to get rid of the ball quickly.
Howard, week 5, they played the Philadelphia Eagles there in Glendale. Actually, 2. I can't wait to press palm with you there because I'm going to be going to that game with Seth Joyner.
Oh, cool.
So we're going to be there for that. How good is this team? DeAndre Hopkins, 6-game suspension. Looks like most likely he'll miss that game there. And he was a major focal point when it came to moving the chain, especially in that 7-0 start for the season for them. You got Zach Ertz. Zach, that's going to be a big game for him as well. Just your assessment on how good you think this team is. They lost Chandler Jones, some other guys on that side of the football. My question is probably defense. You tell me what you think.
Yeah, no, it's all good questions. And I think one of the biggest questions to be answered in training camp is who will be the backup to James Conner at running back. I mentioned last year during the first however many games it was when Conner and Chase Edmonds were healthy together, they had a great ball sharing. Cliff Kingsbury did an excellent job of sharing the touches and sharing the snaps. And I went back and looked at it, and Connor was somewhere in around 44, 45%, and Edmonds was the rest. Then both of them started getting injured. And there was only one game coming down the stretch of the season where both of them were out there together. And there were two games where James Conner had played 90% of the snaps plus. You can't do that. You can't do that. And Chase Edmonds, there was a game where he was around 90%. So they have to find who's the number 2 guy and then decide to use him, because it would be very tempting just to have Conner out there. But the more you're out there, the more chance you have for injury. And James Conner's had a bunch of injuries in his career. So they have Eno Benjamin competing. They have Darrell Williams, who they signed, who've been with the Chiefs. They drafted a kid, Keontae Ingram. That's going to be an interesting competition in training camp. Who wins that job? And maybe they'll use 2 guys behind Conner. But you have to utilize them, though, not just have them there available. Then at receiver, without Hopkins for 6 games, having Marquise Brown obviously is a big plus. He went to college, so he knows Kyler Murray very well. A.J. Green's back. Rondale Moore will be used more in the slot. A key to that offense could be you mentioned Zach Ertz, could be Trey McBride, who was their first draft pick taken in the 2nd round. If he can be a quick starter, and when I say a quick starter, quick right out of the box as a rookie, then you can supplement Ertz. You can be on the field the same time as him. Sometimes if Ertz gets a blow, you can have just McBride out there, and that's a good pass catcher to have out there. But it'll be key in those first 6 games and here's the first 3, Dan: Kansas City, at the Raiders, and then the Rams. That's the first 3 games. And so they're going to need McBride contributing in that first part of the season before Hopkins comes back. Offensive line has to stay healthy and be together. And then on defense, you mentioned Chandler Jones leaving. They've got about 5 or 6 guys competing for the spot opposite Marcus Golden, who actually led the team in sacks last year with 11. Some would argue, hey, well, teams weren't paying attention to him that much because Chandler Jones was still there. Well, now Chandler Jones isn't there. And so they're going to be paying more attention to Golden until someone else on the other side can prove that they can rush the passer. And they got to be able to stop the run, which they were very inconsistent at last year, and they have some depth issues in the secondary. So I've made the point, Dan, that the defense at least has to play well enough where the offense doesn't have to score 30 points to win a game. Because there's going to get, as capable as they are of doing that with that offense, you're not going to be able to do that every game. You're going to play a Rams team that you're probably not going to score 30 against. And so that's what the defense has to do, and they're going to be challenged unless some of these younger guys, as I mentioned, at outside linebacker and on the defensive line, step up.
I got to ask you a Hall of Fame question, but I want you to give me a scouting report on a guy that the Eagles have now, Hassan Reddick. Give me a little bit about his play, what you learned just covering him being around him, double-digit sacks in Arizona and in Carolina. I mean, he's got the ability to get there. A little bit undersized. I mean, he's kind of like TJ, I guess, 6'2", 230. I mean, you're not going to line him up at a traditional 43 because just a war of attrition would probably wear that guy down a little bit. But your assessment on Hassan Reddick.
Yeah, the guy's got excellent pass rush ability. It's been shown the last 2 years. There's no doubt about it. And the Cardinals misused him for the first 3 seasons of his career. They were playing him on the inside, and which was just crazy. I mean, he was a pass rusher in college, and why you would play him on the inside and not take advantage of his pass rush ability was kind of shocking, actually. And then he did step up. Now, granted, the sack, when he had all those sacks with the Cardinals, that was the year Chandler Jones was injured. So would he have had the same thing if Jones had been playing all year? Who knows? But the guy's got ability. There's no doubt about it. But you're right. They have to find the right way to use him because he's not a down lineman. He's a stand-up guy who can just get to the passer. And that's what the Eagles feel they've got.
Why didn't Arizona want him back?
I think they did, but it's a great question because I think they did want him back. They had Chandler Jones going into his last contract. I think last year his contract. I think they had designs on trying to get him re-signed. Of course, that did not happen. And it was interesting. For the most part, it was, well, they had other needs. They went out and signed J.J. Watt, and they signed players here and there. They didn't sign huge contracts to guys. But, Reddick was looking for a big payday. Turned out at the end of the day, he didn't get it.
Yeah, he didn't get it in Carolina.
Exactly. He only signed a one-year deal. So but a lot of times, Dan, some guys will be, especially when they've been through a tough situation. And granted, at Carolina, let's remember, he was playing for the head coach, Matt Rule, who was his coach at Temple when he was in college. So there was some familiarity there. And I think that's certainly a big part of what attracted him there. But who knows what would have happened if he hadn't gotten that deal. And a lot of people say, hey, man, the Cardinals should have brought him back. If that's all. I think he got about $8 million.
Yeah, it was because I looked at the number and I was like, gee, that's really weird for a guy that was productive in Arizona. And all of a sudden, they just let the guy walk for less than $10 million to Carolina on a one-year deal. Right. It's almost like a prove-it deal, too.
Right. You know what happens in free agency.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
When you don't get the guy signed and all of a sudden the player's out there and you're interested, but you're saying, okay, see what the market is. And then he ends up, like I said, I think he picked familiarity as much as anything for the reason he signed with the Panthers. And then but it was a little, it was a little surprising. Why didn't the Panthers keep him? You wonder about that.
Yeah. So
here he is. We'll see.
That's what I'm saying. Two places didn't want him back. I mean, I'm like, and it doesn't look like a lot of money to me that was being thrown around. He ended up signing, I think, a $15 million per year deal with Philadelphia, and it's more money than he ended up getting, obviously, than what he did in Carolina and Arizona. But funny, if you have that kind of production, usually, especially with an edge rusher, you covet those kind of guys. All right, let me close it up here. Very cool that you're now on the veteran committee along with the guys who nominated each and every single year. So it gives you versatility to be able to continue your process. And what I love about it, Howard Balzer's a Hall of Fame voter, is that even if you miss on a guy and he doesn't get there, you got to get a chance to get him in the veterans committee now, where you could still make the case for him. And I think there should be more of you like Rick Gosselin and yourself that are part of that whole thing. You think it'll be harder to put guys in the Hall of Fame on the veteran side, or do you think it's still – because I think you guys have the hardest job on the planet right now, figuring out the semifinal guys to make it into camp.
Oh, yeah. No question about it. And here's an amazing stat. I'll ask you to guess this to see how close you come. And I added up of the 25 semifinalists in that seniors committee, and I'm glad now that that the Hall of Fame is announcing those guys. They never did that in the past.
I couldn't believe I saw the list of the contributors. I was like, wow.
They never did that in the past. The committees would vote on like a top 10 or top 12, whatever it was, and then you discuss them, and then they announced whoever it was that was put up as a finalist. But there wasn't a preliminary vote to 25, and now there is, and they announce them. And now today was the deadline to vote for our 12 finalists that will be discussed in August. And so today was the deadline. It'll be announced next week on Wednesday, 27th, I think, on Wednesday. I'm glad the Hall of Fame is announcing it because it tells everybody out there, it shows everybody out there, oh my goodness, I didn't realize that guy wasn't in the Hall of Fame. I didn't realize that guy wasn't in the Hall of Fame. But it also shows how tough it is. I mean, when we voted for the top 25, I voted, obviously, and 15 of my 25 made it. And that might not sound like a lot, but when you probably realize that the guys near the bottom of the 25 probably didn't get a whole lot of votes because there's only 12 of us on this senior committee, I think 15 out of 25 is pretty good.
It is. I think it's a great number.
But when you look at those 25 guys and you say, oh my God, yeah, this is going to be very hard. We'll cut it to 12. And that's not that, because when I look at the 15 I voted for, certainly most of my 12 are going to be in that group. And it wasn't like I didn't feel the other guys were deserving. I just felt that the guys I voted for were a bit more deserving. But once we get in there and we start talking about those 12, to cut it down to 3, that's, oh my goodness. I can't even imagine what that's going to be like, because at that point you can make a very strong case for everybody on that list, whether it's Ken Anderson, whether it's Sterling Sharp, whether, I always have
do you mind telling me the list?
Yeah, no, I will. Here's the 25.
This is awesome, Howard.
What's that?
This is awesome. Thank you.
Ken Anderson, Maxie Baughan, Mark Clayton, Roger Craig, Laverne Dilwig, who's a long ago player, Randy Gradishar, Lester Hayes, Chris Hinton, Chuck Howley, Cecil Isbell, another guy who played like in the 30s, Joe Jacoby, Billy White Shoes Johnson, Mike Ken, Joe Klecko, Bob Kuchenberg, who was a finalist among the modern day guys 8 times and didn't get in, George Coons, Jim Marshall, Clay Matthews Jr., Eddie Metter, another old-time guy, Stanley Morgan, Tommy Nobis, Ken Riley, Sterling Sharp, Otis Taylor, and Everson Walls. I mean, it's just an incredible group. And so I added up, Dan, those 25 guys, and I looked at the last year that they played an NFL game to this year, 2022. You know what the average number of years it's been for all these players from their last game to now being a semifinalist? The average number of years they've waited, 40.5.
Man.
40.5. Now that's skewed a little bit by Isbell and Dilweg, who played their last game 80 and 88 years ago, right? But the average of the other 23 is still 36.7.
Randy Gradishaw's not in the Hall of Fame.
He is not.
He's
been a finalist.
He's a former NFL Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing about it, and this is it's great that what the Hall of Fame did, and I have to applaud them for their transparency.
I can't believe Randy Gradishaw's not in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and they talked to all of us. We had several conference calls, Zoom calls, with as many selection committee guys that could be there. And Jim Porter, who took over for David Baker as the president of the Hall of Fame, here people would say, man, we got to get seniors in. There's too many seniors. We got to get more in. So he had these calls, and he asked us for ideas. Well, how many should it be? How can we do this? What can we do? Well, they came up because the last couple of years, there's only been one senior that got elected. Well, now it's been increased to a possibility of 3. So out of that 25, 3 will be finalists, and I'd be shocked if none of them got, the 80% vote they need in January or February to be to be officially enshrined. But at least now it's increased to 3. So and it will be at least for the next 3 years. So at least in the next 3 years, we'll have 9 seniors likely going in instead of what it's been the last few years with a total of only 3 in 3 years. So a bunch of these guys are going to start getting in, and I think that's a great thing that the Hall of Fame has done.
3 names that jumped off to me off that list were Gradishaw, Kuchenberg, and Riley. Those 3 guys, because to me, Riley, I mean, look, I get Ken Anderson, former MVP, was a heck of a ball player. But, boy, I'll tell you, Ken Riley was a hell of a ball player, man. I mean, I think he had 60 interceptions or something like that.
For a while, right? He had the all-time record.
All-time record. Kuchenberg played. And what's great about Bob, and I knew him while he was alive, he used to always, tell me, he goes, Sills, how's this possible? I played on a football team that won 3 consecutive AFC championships, and one of those teams was undefeated, and we won 2 Super Bowls back-to-back. How are only Jim Langer and Little on the Hall of Fame and in the Hall of Fame other than just those 2 guys? Now, I'm like this. I think those Dolphin teams fall in the same category as those Packer teams because of Warfield, Greasy, Zonka, Langer, Little. I mean, I don't know if you could put the whole group in. I mean, that's what you're starting to do now with the Packer guys.
Well, and the thing is, and it happens to different guys. I mean, here, look, Donnie Shell from those great Steelers teams didn't go in until the Centennial class from 2 years ago. Look how long he had to wait. Look how long Jerry Kramer had to wait. 50 years after his last game. Well, as you mentioned, Cooch said to you, hey, we had Langer and Little. Oh, that probably worked against him because at some point voters say, well, how many guys were really Hall of Famers on that line? And so it ends up working against a guy. And so L.C. Greenwood on the Steelers, he's a guy who was a finalist among modern day guys 5 times. And he didn't make this top 25.
That's insane
for the seniors. And those are the things that happen. I'll tell you, there's a guy on the Steelers. I know you've asked me about different guys. And by the way, I did vote for Ed White. In my 25.
Oh my God, I was just gonna go. I was just gonna bring Ed White up to you, Howard, because how is a guy in the all-time Vikings team, the all-time Chargers team, went to 3 Super Bowls, and I get he lost those Super Bowls, but how is that guy? With all the Pro Bowls that he's had, How is he not in the Pro Football Hall of Fame?
And I think partially it comes down to, especially when you get to this point, it's about people advocating for you. And there's no one advocating out there.
Chargers are the worst. Look at Leslie O'Neal.
And there's a bunch of other offensive linemen.
Look at Leslie O'Neal too, Howard. I mean, the Chargers don't push him.
So the point I was getting to is that I brought him up because I know you've asked me about him in the past. But there's a Steeler linebacker who was on the nominees, and I'll be first. I voted for him, and he's not in the 25. Is Andy Russell. And what happened to him, just like it happened to Tommy Nobis and Mike Ken of the Falcons, they were on the Falcons when they were horrible. And so a lot of times when you're not winning and you're not on national TV, you kind of fall through the cracks. And so Andy Russell was a great linebacker, and he was around, I think, for only one of the Steelers Super Bowls at the end of his career. And then he retired. And so the Steelers were bad before they started, winning those Super Bowls. But there's a lot of people who'll tell you that Andy Russell is every bit as deserving as Jack Lambert or Jack Ham, two linebackers from those Super Bowl Steelers teams who are in the Hall of Fame. And so I think that's what happens sometimes to guys who aren't on winning teams. It's not because someone looks at them and say, well, he didn't win. Sometimes it's about that with quarterbacks, but it's also about being noticed. And you don't notice guys a lot of times as much when they're on teams that don't do well. And it's just the nature of it to a certain degree. And so that's hurt, a certain number of guys. Joe Klecko, how many times did they had a couple good playoff appearances, but how many times did they win when Joe Klecko was there? Even being in, that's a funny one. Everyone says, "Oh, you have an advantage if you're from New York." Well, it didn't help Joe Klecko
or Gastineau.
And Gastineau wasn't even. I'm pretty sure Gastineau wasn't even on the nominee list.
I can't understand that. He won the Defensive Player of the Year award twice. Him and Reggie are the only guys, if you count his playoffs, Gastineau, to have a sack in every single game he played in. He's the creator of the sack dance. He's the guy that started really what players are doing today. And you know what, Howard? You know this as well as I do. The media hated him, okay? And that played against him too. And how many years did he have 20 sacks? 3? He had the record for 30 some odd years. I can't believe that guy's not even considered when it comes to the conversation. He's one of the great. If it wasn't for Lawrence Taylor, Mark Gastineau would have been the pass rushing monster of that era.
Might have been. I think that what this whole conversation obviously has shown, which we talk about often when we talk about things, is just how hard it is. And you can make the case for a lot of guys that perhaps should be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But as I always say to people when they ask, I say, okay, I can understand why you advocate strongly for that guy, but who should we take out?
Here I got one last one for you here before I let you go. Before I let you go here, the way Devin Hester gets into the Hall of Fame is if Billy White Shoes Johnson gets in.
Could be, and I don't know if Billy White Shoes will, but the thing about it that helps Billy White Shoes Johnson is that if he advances, and I think it's going to be hard for him to advance against some of these other people that are in there, but if he would at some point, then it could help Devin Hester. But I don't know if it'll help Devin when he's going against the other modern day guys. I was a little surprised, quite honestly, that he was a finalist last year because, Steve Tasker was a semifinalist numerous times, but of course he didn't score points like Hester does. But it's somewhat similar with Billy, with White Shoes, to Ray Guy. Ray Guy was a finalist, I believe it was 7 times as a modern day player, but never was enshrined during that time because when it came down to reduce the vote, guys would have, well, okay, he was a great punter, but am I going to vote for him over an every down player? And so he doesn't get enough votes to advance. He got in as a senior because he's not taking the spot of a modern day guy. And Billy White Shoes Johnson, if he gets in at some point, also will not be taking the spot of a modern day guy. So I'm going to be very curious to see what happens with Devin Hester as this continues, because, man, those modern day guys are, and maybe Devin Hester got in because there weren't that many first time eligible guys. last year, and no first-time eligible guys got in. But all of those things play a part in how these classes are comprised each and every year.
You know what, Howard? I'm not voting for a non-traditional position player over a wideout or a linebacker or an offensive tackle. I get he's a major part of the game, and he's a U guy, and I love him. However, I'm not putting Devin Hester in the Pro Football Hall of Fame over Ed White. I'm just just not doing that. I would find a problem voting for a non-traditional position player going in over a special. Not saying that Steve Tasker, who was a great special teams player, but man, I mean, over Cornelius Bennett, I don't know.
Right. Or even
Tally.
Tally or Ken Hull.
Yeah.
And, Ken Hull was on this list of seniors, and he didn't make the semifinals. So, that's what it cut. And like I said, when you have 12 people voting, and I give the Hall credit because they increased the committee from 9 to 12, so it gets a little more votes into the process. But the reality is, when 12 guys are voting for 25 people, I mean, how many? We don't know, but how many votes did the number 26 guy get? He probably missed by one vote, maybe. In fact, the seniors list, if you count them up, had 29 guys.
Wow.
Not the seniors. The coaches and contributors had 29. Well, that means there was a tie for the 25th spot. And what was that tie? Was that three? Each of them have 3 votes? Who knows? We don't know that answer. But that certainly determines a lot. Is the cutoff point? You can't, wherever the cutoff is. I've always said this, that whoever missed the cutoff by a few spots didn't miss it by very many votes, but that's what determines who eventually gets into the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Howard, I can keep going on and on because I love our conversation when we get into that part of the game, and I really appreciate that you're one of the caretakers of the sport, and thank you so much. It should be a very interesting year this year. I can't wait for the upcoming season. Teams are already reporting right now to training camp, so thank you so much, my friend.
Hey, 2 weeks from tonight, Dan, it's a gold jacket dinner in Canton already. Hall of Fame weekend, 2 weeks.
Oh, my God, that's right, Vermeil. I think Vermeil's the last to speak, right?
He's the last to speak. Can I tell you a quick story?
Yeah, please.
So on the Hall of Fame radio show I do on Sirius, we had Jerome Bettis on the other day. And Joe Harrigan, who I do the show with from the Hall of Fame, gave him a little, a little jibe about how long his speech was when he was enshrined. And so after it was over, I said, hey, Jerome, I've got to give you a little pass on that long speech. He said, because I can still remember the terrible towels waving. Unless you remember, Pittsburgh's only 90 miles away from Canton. And so when there's a Steelers going in, man, there's an incredible number of Steelers fans. I said, your speech was made longer by the fact that you had to stop all the time because the fans kept cheering. And he says, thank you. And then he said, and of course I was the last speaker and everybody was worn out by then. And so I had to get everybody going in the beginning. And that took up about 2 minutes. So I said, well, it's interesting you talk about the last speaker, Jerome. I said, because Dick Vermeil will be the last one this year. And so they're giving guys a lot shorter time to speak, and everyone followed it last year. I'm wondering how long Vermeil's speech will go on, only because he has to stop because he's crying along the way. And Jerome said, absolutely. He's going to be crying from the beginning until the end.
He's going to have 2 words in, and the rest of it's going to be tears and tear-jerking.
And then I told the incredible story. I mean, here's a guy, Dan, Dick Vermeil, who in his first year at the Rams, Lawrence Phillips had been drafted, pretty sure the year before, in the first round. And he spent the offseason in jail for some domestic violence situation. Yep. I think it was in Nebraska somewhere. He was in jail.
Yep, dorm room.
And Dick Vermeil, well, not where the incident took, but I think he was in jail in Nebraska too.
Yeah.
So Dick Vermeil, when the day that Phillips was released from prison, Dick Vermeil drove there and brought him back to St. Louis to get ready for training camp and all that. Well, that was 96. Then I'm pretty sure the next year, it might have been his first year there, Lawrence was Lawrence. I mean, what can we say? And he showed up drunk for a game. And he was drunk still from Friday night. That's how drunk he had got before the game. And Vermeil just, that's it. That's the end of the line. I've got to cut the guy. Well, he's doing the press conference after cutting him, and he's asked by a reporter, how tough was this, even with everything that had happened, to cut Lawrence Phillips? And he cried. He cried talking about cutting Lawrence Phillips. And then the next offseason, he recommended to Bill Walsh, who was still the head coach of the 49ers at the time, he recommended to Bill Walsh that they sign him and send him to NFL Europe. And they did. And he still never did anything for the 49ers. But that is the antithesis of Dick Vermeil. What a unique human being, but beyond just being a football coach.
Oh, I can't wait to hear his speech. I think everybody in Philly is really looking forward to that. Thank you so much, Howard. I appreciate it, my friend.
My pleasure, man.
You got it. Always great to talk to my friend Howard Balzer. Don't forget, folks, my friends at Morgan & Morgan, where the fee is free. Okay? Look, if you're hurt or injured on the job, finding an attorney is one of the most important things that you could possibly do for you and your family. That's right. 800 attorneys strong. This is the biggest law firm in the country, and they're ready to do battle for you. Know this. There's no such thing as a fender bender at Morgan & Morgan. Okay? No such thing. 800 attorneys strong in offices in Philly, New York, and in Florida. Call them at 800-512-1600. That's 800-512-1600. 24/7, 7 days a week. The call is free. The consultation's free. 800-512-1600. And when you call Morgan & Morgan, you tell them Big Sil sent you.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. When you're hit from behind in a car crash, the insurance company may try to say, you can't possibly be hurt. It was only a few miles an hour. It's simply not true. You see, here's the thing. Getting hit at 10 miles per hour is like falling off of this. 15 miles per hour, like this. Only 25 miles per hour, this. Injured, dial pound law. There's only one Morgan & Morgan.
Go for the pulls and the pools. Go for the oohs and the ahs. Go for the bubbles and the bubbly. Go for the story and the stories. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
At Action News, we cherish every moment, and it's our profound responsibility to bring you closer to your world. Never miss a moment. Trust the people at Action News.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass. Free.
What's that?
A rocks glass?
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that. Holy shit.
And you're telling me I can get one of these glasses for free?
That's right. One free rocks glass per customer with each first-time purchase of Stateside Vodka. So good, it just disappears.
Hour 3, National Football Show. Appreciate everybody coming aboard. Please hit the like button. By the way, the reason I asked Howard Balzer the question about how the Arizona Cardinals use Hassan Reddick, did you hear what he said? First couple of years in Arizona, they put him inside. He was completely ineffective. If Jonathan Gannon puts that guy inside at any time, we'll know immediately that this guy hasn't done his proper scouting on how this player is to be used. But the reason also that I asked, if a guy's so productive, how come two teams didn't want him back? How come they didn't want Hassan Reddick back? Cardinals didn't want him back? He played for Matt Rule at Temple. How come he didn't want him back in Carolina? Right? Edge rushing is a priority. It's a premium position. Why wouldn't you? I mean, pass rushers are coveted. You find yourself a guy that can resemble anything that TJ Watt does, and you don't want him back? Why? And again, I don't know. I'm not even gonna sit and think why. Maybe because both coaching staffs didn't know how to fundamentally use them. Okay, maybe they didn't. Could that be they didn't know how to use them? What makes you think Jonathan Gannon then is going to figure that out? I mean, we saw incompetent defensive schemes last year, and all of a sudden now everyone's going to look at that and go like that. Wait a minute there. Hey, Jonathan Gannon is the modern day Jim Johnson. I don't know if I see that. So you didn't know how to use them in Arizona. They didn't know how to use them in Carolina, but you're going to know how to use them in Philly when last year those defensive schemes were not very good. Hey, Mike, that's a good question. Next time we get Howard on, Clyde Simmons, I think, had a great career. Hey, Sills, how will you play Kirk Cousins when he comes to Philly? If you were Gannon, what type of defensive scheme would – dude, I'm going to tell you flat out, GT, pressure. You've got to pressure Cousins. Don't let him sit back there. If they let Kirk Cousins sit back there like they let those quarterbacks last year in 2021 sit back there and pick that secondary apart, Kirk Cousins will also pick them apart. You've got to pressure him. You've got to move him. And to me, you've got to jam them. Now you've got Bradbury and Slay. My opinion, you play press coverage. You got to get him out of a rhythm. He's a rhythm quarterback. GT, a guy like Cousins, pressure and press coverage. Don't do zone and no pressure. This guy will sit back there, get to his spot in the 7-step drop, and pick you apart. He had 7 picks last year. He knows where to go with the ball. And you have Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen, and you have 1,100-yard rusher. Just don't let that guy sit back there like that. Dude, if that guy does that same shit, that bend but don't break stuff, Kirk Cousins will throw for 450 yards with Justin Jefferson. And then Xander's right. 180 yards and 3 touchdowns and 14 catches. He's right. You play that style of defense against Kirk Cousins in week 2 at Lincoln Financial, Justin Jefferson will have 180 yards and 3 touchdowns and 10 receptions. And he will have eaten that team to pieces. You better pressure that guy, move him around, roll him a different way. Don't let that guy sit back there. He'll be 85% completion percentage. He was 67 last year. He almost led the NFL. Can't have it, man. I guess the teams that make the least amount of changes are the teams, in my opinion, that will be the most formidable to beat. Not the teams that make a zillion changes. Okay? How many times have you seen that work out where a team just overhauls a football team, they win it next year? Some would go, well, what about the Buccaneers? Buccaneers added Brady and Gronk. 2 guys. Not saying they weren't significant guys, But there weren't 14 changes. You had the defense. You had the O-line. Brady knew it was a ready-made football team. Year previous, Jameis Winston threw for 5,000 yards and 30 touchdowns, albeit 30 picks. Cousins is mid. I don't know what that means. Mike, just like Carr had like 90% completion percentage. Same with Howie making moves that make you scratch your head. Yeah. If I see them throw the ball against the Steelers this year, okay, they should have their head examined. Steelers gave up 146 yards a game at 5 yards a clip. You're going to have to prove to me that you could play pass, you could stop the run. I don't care about TJ Watt and Cam Hayward. They had him there a year ago, and it was one of the worst defensive performances since 1954 in Pittsburgh. You got to stop the run. It plays right into the Eagles' strength. Watch this. Watch Gannon throw the ball 38 times and get beaten that game by the Steelers. Watch. That situational play calling and not knowing your shit, in my opinion. That's when you make the move where you go, this guy doesn't know what he's doing, man. They ran the ball last year. They beat shitty teams, and it was fool's gold. You know, it's funny. The whole season last year reminds me of that Falcons game. It does. It reminds me of that Falcons game. Every time they got into games that mattered, they got crushed. But I'm supposed to believe they improved because they added A.J. Brown, who missed a boatload of games last year and averages 900 yards a game. 900 yards a year. Okay. I like him, and I think he's good. Sales, New Orleans might try to trade Michael Thomas. Would he fit here in Philly? Yeah. Michael Thomas? 100-catch Michael Thomas? Why would Michael Thomas want to come to Philly? He ain't getting 100 catches. Michael Thomas wants to go to Green Bay. Michael Thomas wants to go to a place that's got a future. Same way Devontae Adams went to Las Vegas with Carr. Why in the world would I go to Philly when there's no chance of me catching 100 passes? No chance. Hey, Arizona might be a place. Him and DeAndre Hopkins on two sides. Says that he's average. Last year, he called a guy who had 4,300 yards passing last year and 33 touchdowns and 7 picks and 67% completion percentage average. Okay? Well, Rico, Matthew Stafford is under 500, and he's considered one of the top 5 quarterbacks. Hey, Xander, I heard either Rob or D. Gunn saying that Matthew Stafford's a top 5 quarterback. Rico, if that's the case, Matthew Stafford is 10 games under 500. So he must suck too then, right? He must suck too then. In the NFC, okay, well, that team did win the Super Bowl. And he just got a contract extension where he's now making $39 million a year. So I'm saying he probably sucks too, right? Cousins is average. I love doing that to everybody. Dude, if you absolutely think that Kirk Cousins, just like John McMullen said, if you guys think that Kirk Cousins is average, what do you think Jalen is? What do you think he is? Honestly. John McMullen says he's not even near Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray's nowhere near the passer that Cousins is. Kirk Cousins stats. Now, Kirk Cousins winning big games. Funny, I don't remember Matthew Stafford winning big games for 12 years. I love this stats. One of my favorites when I look up Cousins. Get this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In the last 7 years, Kirk Cousins 69.8 completion percentage, led the NFL in 2015, 41-66, 29 touchdowns. Next year, 67% completion percentage, 4,917, 25 touchdowns. The year next in 17, 64.3, 4,093, 27 touchdowns and 5 picks. The year next, 70% completion percentage, 42-98, 30 touchdowns, 5 picks. The year next, only year in that 7-year run he didn't have 4,000 yards. 36-03, still threw for 26 touchdowns and 6 picks. Then the last 2 years, in 2020, 42-65, 35 touchdowns, 67 completion percentage. Last year, 42-21, 33 touchdowns, 7 picks, 66.3. If that guy's middle of the road and you think he sucks, Jalen Hurts is a bum. He will never have a 7-year run like that. As a matter of fact, the Eagles have never had a 7-year run like that in quarterback history in 100 years. You're talking out of your ass when you're talking about. See, I think people think that throwing the ball is an easy thing. And they go, well, what about his playoff record? Okay. What about Brett Favre's playoff record? 13-12. What about Peyton Manning's 14-13? You make it sound like those guys were winning all kinds of playoff games. They were not. All those stats. What does he have to show for it? $90 million. Same thing Murray has. Oh, and what does he have to show for it? Ask Justin Jefferson what he has to show for it. When Justin Jefferson at the end of this year will be the highest paid wide receiver in the league, he'll look at Kirk Cousins and go, thank you. He'll go, thank you, Kurt. Remember, he did it with Stephon Diggs too. He did it in Washington. They haven't had a quarterback since Cousins in Washington. They haven't. Hey, Dank. Stafford had one playoff win in 12 years in Detroit. I love how hey, I got to look at Stafford's overall record here. Let me see what he has here. Matthew Stafford stats. Let's see here. By the way, I wonder if Matthew Stafford has thrown for as many yards. Oh, he's got a ton of 4,000-yard passing years. And here's his overall record. He's 86-95-1. Shit, D. Gunn or somebody had him 5th in the NFC. Okay. I agree. He's got a losing record. People talking about this guy being a Hall of Fame player. He didn't even have a 500 record. I guess he's a bum too. Oh, but the Super Bowl changes that, right? Okay. That guy's thrown for almost 50,000 yards already. Wow. Hey, Mike, amen. I guarantee, hey, all you guys complain about Cousins, I guarantee you Justin Jefferson's not. Guarantee you he's not. Okay? I guarantee you. Ask Justin Jefferson what he thinks of Kirk Cousins. He's going to get paid because of that guy. Oh, my God. Can you imagine Justin Jefferson in Philly? He'd be Jalen Reagor. Be Jalen Reagor. What do you think? What? If you can't get 1,000 yards to Devontae Smith, you're not getting 1,000 yards to Jefferson either. Think of that. That kid is electric. How many times has Mel Reese come on this program and gone, I haven't seen anybody this electric in an Eagle uniform in a long time. And he was throwing Deshaun Jackson's name in that conversation. Remember? Right? Guy had 900 yards. Common. Those are common numbers. This is why when I started the program out, and I'm glad Howard Balzer even said it too. Dude, you're paying for the whole package with Kyler Murray. Marketability, winning. By the way, all your intangibles you love about your boy, I don't think Kyler Murray has one of them. I don't. Moody scrubbed his social media page. I guess that's what the kiddies do today when you have to throw a fit. I'll remember that when Xander's mad at me, he'll scrub his social media page from Big Sills. Won't have my name on it. I'm mad at Sills. Okay? Like when the Canes beat the hell out of Alabama and they run them into the ground and they pound their faces in. Xander's going to like take all my name and everything off, like, you know, because he'll be upset with me. I guess that's what the kiddies do today. They go out and they do that kind of stuff, right? So, I mean, hey, it's something that you have to live with now, what the kiddies like to do. Little Moody, you know. Scrub my social media platform. That's what the kiddies do. You see, that's what's really great about Xander. Hey, Sills, I don't care about any what you think you just said. Okay? I really don't care. As long as we can keep it in the guardrails, just get clicks and shut up. Just get clicks and shut up. Nobody cares, okay? Hey, I don't care. I don't care about anything. Just get clicks. Just get clicks and keep it in the guardrails. I can do my best on the guardrail thing. So Cousins didn't get better in Minnesota. No, you're right. 33 touchdowns and 7 picks and 69 quarterback percentage completion and 102 quarterback rating. Yeah, that sucks, Dank. Probably didn't get better. You don't think he got better in Minnesota with those numbers? 6 of the 7 years he threw for over 4,200 yards. You don't think he got better? What? How do you not? Rat poison. Hey, that's my favorite Saban line. Is rat poison. You know, you media guys, and that I like to call it. We call it around here rat poison. Dude, that guy is a great quote. One of the greatest college football quote guys of all time. Him and Woody Hayes and guys like that, man, who just barked it at you. I don't give a good God. Hey, but Woody Hayes would go, I don't give a good GD. What the hell you think of me? How do you like that? I don't give a shit what you think. Cornelius Green was a quarterback for him. But you're going to love this. Cornelius Green, I wanted to play for Woody Hayes. Cornelius Green, okay? Cornelius Green was, I think one of the first black quarterbacks at Ohio State, and he was getting kind of heat from the alumni and all this and that. Do you know what? Hey, and I'm going to use a bad word. Sorry, Aunt Betty. Cornelius goes to Woody Hayes. Yeah, Wood, man. I don't know, man. It's kind of like some racist people here in Columbus with this. Woody Hayes looked at him and went, fuck him. And he goes on to go like 41-3 at Ohio State. Woody Hayes just goes, fuck him. He goes, this is my team. Yeah, Rico. Okay, you're right. He sucks. You're right. If that guy sucks with 33-7. Hey, by the way, okay, Rico, so then you must think Garoppolo's a superstar. He's 5-2 in the postseason, been to a Super Bowl, won an NFC, and he's 38-16. So you must think he's great. It's all right, because I think Garoppolo's good too. I do. Rico, I think Jimmy Garoppolo with the playoffs is 38-16. Went into Dallas and Green Bay and won last year. beat Aaron Rodgers 2 of the last 3 years in the postseason. Huh? He must suck too. Right? That guy must suck too. Hey, get this. That's a great point. So wait a minute. Sorry-ass, soft, weak noodle arm Jimmy Garoppolo went into Dallas and beat the pants off them last year. Jalen gets into a game against Dallas, run off the turf. I thought I was watching JV football. Looked like it was Big 12 ball versus an NFL team. I thought it was some sort of like all-star game that was being played against the Cowboys on Monday night. I was like, man, guess them windows aren't open like they were against Kansas. Damn, man. How come those windows aren't as open as they were against Kansas and Lawrence? Gee, they're not that open. What happened? Yeah, Debo beat Dallas. I know. That's right. Of course he did. And that's why Debo Samuel wants out of San Francisco now, because he sees what's coming up. Trey Lance. He wants out of San Francisco. He doesn't want to be there because he knows Trey Lance sucks. Do you understand that's why Samuel wants out? He knows what's coming. Jordan Love / Trey Lance. You don't think that guy struggles in San Francisco this year? Oh, I do. I think that guy struggles mightily. You got the best receiver since Jerry Rice and Terrell Owens in San Francisco, and he wants out. Well, it's because they're running it. Right. He wants to be a receiver. He doesn't want to be a gadget guy. Who wants to be a gadget guy? More chances of me getting hurt. Tyreek Hill gets $25 million for being a receiver, not a gadget. Devontae Adams gets $25 million a year, not being a gadget and part of the running game. Debo wants to be like the rest of these guys. Can't be that way in San Francisco. And Jimmy Garoppolo made that guy who he is. And by the way, everyone's like this. Well, do you tell me this then? If he sucks so much, why is Kyle Shanahan 7-28 without Jimmy G starting? The greatness of Nate Sudfeld. Hey, your boy Trey sucks, man. Nate Sudfeld, just like Howie and Dougie said, hey, there's your boy, man. We're going to get to see the greatness of Nate Sudfeld. Dude, absolutely. That's a great point, Xander. Dude, if I'm Kyle Shanahan and you and John Lynch went and got Trey Lance, I know I'm not beating the Rams with Trey Lance. I'm not beating the Rams. And you know what? I'm not beating Kyler Murray with Trey Lance. You just gave Kyler Murray $230.5 million. Can I get an amen? Woo! And you got Trey, one play Trey. One play Trey, baby. Go get him, Trey. I can't wait to see that experiment. And by the way, just so you guys know, when I went and looked for Trey Lance video, Xander, when I went and looked for Trey Lance video on YouTube, some of the stuff had been taken down. It was like 2 years ago. I mean, I couldn't find a lot of game film on the guy. I think he's played, 2 games in the last 3 years or something because of COVID or some shit. I'm like, how did you draft that guy in that position when he's played so much limited ball? Mitchell Trubisky played 1 year at North Carolina, and I thought that was a factor. He should have had more reps. They need to know if he can play. You gave 3 ones away to see if he can play. Think about that, Yale. Look what Yale just put up. They need to know if he can play. July 22nd, after I gave the Dolphins 3-1s. Hey, boy, that sounds like that sounds like they got their noodle on. Hey, here's 3-1s. Let's find out if he can play now. Oh, shit. 3-1s for a guy that's from North Dakota State, as us folks in the East Coast say. North Dakota. 3 first-rounders to move up to get one-play Trey. Good luck. And you're going to dump a guy who's going to go to the Giants and turn the Giants around. Everywhere Garoppolo's gone, he's won. Everywhere. He won in New England. He won in San Fran. Remember something. When he got to San Francisco, it was after the Trent Baalke and Jim Harbaugh disaster. Franchise sucked out loud. Jimmy G goes in there, and they start winning ball games. He's going to do the same thing in New York. They improved their O-line. I still don't think it's very good. They got some playmakers in New York. I don't think much of Saquon Barkley. They got that kid from Southern Cal that plays, what is his name? Leonard Williams in the defensive line. He's pretty good. I think he played for the Jets first. 49ers should have drafted Mac Jones. Yeah, it's a safer pick, and it's more of down the lines of what the Niners need. They don't need a running quarterback. They prove it every year when they play Jimmy G. He ain't no running quarterback. That 95% completion percentage against the Eagles is unacceptable. You think? Greg, anybody that has a 95% completion percentage against an NFL football team, you should have fired that defensive coordinator at halftime. 95%. So 9 out of every passes they're completing against the Eagles. You can't win that game. Jim Thomasula. Oof. Talk about some great hires there. Jim Thomasula and Chip Kelly. That's killing it in San Fran. Good night. Seth Sills, that had a lot to do with the scheme players for Jimmy G as well. Hey, same thing in New England with Brady. Had a lot to do with the players and scheme. Sure. Okay. If that results in a 38-16 record, I don't care how you package it up. You can package it up that way you want, Seth. Hey, it had a lot to do with the scheme, the coaching. Okay. He still did it. People could slice that, dice that, call him overrated. Well, we're going to find out. We're going to find out. Like we're going to find out in Philly. Woo. By the way, let me say this to you. Some of you suggested you think that I'm setting things up here for the upcoming season. I want one more time for you to remember, be 4 days from now when the Eagles report, okay? Best O-line in football. 5th best tight end. Best running game in football. Wide receiving core, the best in the NFC East. Deepest front 7 in the East. Pro corners at both corners. I don't want to hear any shit about team winning 10 games, getting bounced in the opening round. I don't want to hear any of that. There are no excuses on Mondays. We have no excuse Mondays here. No excuses. I don't want to hear anything about training wheels. I don't want to hear anything about second-year quarterbacking. I don't want to hear about second-year systems. I don't want to hear about Jonathan, shh. This is the pros. This is the pros. It's like being on a great sports channel like JAKIB here. Okay? You're talking to these guys at first, and now you're talking to these guys today. There's a difference when you just see the talent. Okay? There's levels of expectation. There's no excuses this year for this team. None. Zero. You don't get passes any longer. There's no passes here. You fired Peterson. You kick Wentz out. Don't let Wentz kick your ass too. Because that'll be a Monday conversation on week 3. No excuses Monday is what we're going to dub that Monday show, Xander. No excuses. And when they play great and they beat a team like the Lions, there's no crowing beating the Lions. Watch this. You don't get a gold medal for beating the Lions. You don't get a gold medal for beating the Jags. You don't get a gold medal for beating the Texans. You don't get a gold medal for beating the Giants, Bears. You don't get gold medals for those teams. You're expected to win those games. Definitely no excuses, Sills, but Gannon's still there, though. It's not an excuse. Oh, wait till you see me during a regular season. I don't think you guys understand what's about to come about here. Hey, hey, Xander, I don't think they get it, right? Harsh truth. Harsh reality. Unlike your weirdo shows that you have in Philly, I gotcha. I gotcha. Dan, you ready to trash talk Eagles? No. I have expectations. Okay? Sorry, dude. I trash talk my Canes. Ask anybody. You know what my greatest rant in my broadcasting history is? It's a rant against something I love the most. My Miami Hurricane team. If I'll bash the Canes, nothing's safe. That's all you need to know about me. I had the greatest conversation. Get this. I'll give you guys a little bit. There's no gloating. Failure is not gloating, dude. Nobody gloats on failure and doesn't do anything for my show if they lose. I think you guys are gloating. Why? So everyone can leave? Right. Makes sense. Hey, I'm going to serve you shitty sandwiches so nobody watches. Great. Who gloats? No one gloats. Just no excuses. I got to tell you guys this, though, real quick. Xander, you'll like this. So I talked to Dan Radovich, the new athletic director, last night for about 30 minutes. We had a great conversation. And he just goes like this. And by the way, I didn't know that Dan was at Miami with me. In 85, my first year at UM, he was down there and he worked in the PR department with Carl Schmidt. And then Rich Dalrymple went into, Jimmy hired Rich after Carl Schmidt left and went to Kentucky, and he ran the Kentucky Derby. As a matter of fact, hey, Xander, I didn't realize this, but the guy who runs the Kentucky Derby, Carl Schmidt, was my PR director. And Carl goes like this: anytime you want to go to the Derby, let me know. I never even knew he was in Kentucky, head of the sports commission in Kentucky. And I was like, okay, maybe next year I will go. If I make If I make some more money, maybe I will get to the Kentucky Derby. That's a bucket thing for me. So I'm talking to Dan, and he's like, hey, listen, you're one of the most important players for us in our Hurricane family. And he goes, all of you guys are. And it was just connecting. And I was so happy to hear that, because I was barred from the University of Miami with the former athletic director, the president, and the head coach, because I talked too much trash on the team. I was. 7-5 is not acceptable. It's not acceptable. 5 losses? Are you crazy? 5 losses? That's like insane for me to think. 5 losses. I had 1 regular season loss in 3 years at UM. 1. 5 in 1 year? It's a little much for me to take. Be like Xander. Hey, Xander, do you have a problem when Bama loses 2 games? Dude, I can't think the last time Alabama lost 2 games. That's a colossal disaster season in Tuscaloosa if you lose 2 games. That's how we used to feel. If we had 2 losses, man, it was a horrible year. Big Seals is going to have to purchase a $300 Chicks hat for the Derby. And then I'll be drinking those French tulips or whatever they're called. Wow, how about it? Hey. Seth, not acceptable, man. So, hey, no. You're never going to hear this coming season on a Monday. Watch this. You'll never hear this. I told you so. Nobody likes to hear that. Nobody likes to go and do this. And my aunt is a prime example of understanding this. And I'm sorry, but it's taken me all these years. No one likes this. Your team loses, and then you could be miserable on a Monday here. No one likes that. No one likes that. It's not what it's about. No one likes to see and hear somebody crying and bitching and moaning on a Monday after your team gets beat. Okay? Nobody. You try to figure out what happened. You try to figure out what they could do next. Okay? You talk about it. Remember, in an NFL season, it's just 1/16 of the season. Every Monday is just 1/16 of what will happen the rest of the year. It's not catastrophic. And still, unless you start building those losing Sundays up, then it becomes a problem. You guys, right. Hey, Trevor, fans complain because they pay the tickets. Miami, like UF and FSU, need talent. Yeah, you got to keep them Alabama and Clemson teams out of the South Florida area, and they'll be able to get back to winning again. The last Eagle playoff loss was disappointing. You know what though, Manster? The last Eagle playoff loss, I don't think it was. I don't think it was disappointing. I think you expected it. Okay. Stills, when you get really, so you're starting to get my mannerisms down. Yeah, please, guys, hit the like button. I appreciate it. State of Miami, let's go, man. Dude, Mario is killing it. I love him so much, man. I really do. Oh, I really do, man. I can't wait. Hey, by the way, Deshaun Watson's at training camp. How do you think that's going to go into presser after practice today? Yeah. Hey, one cool stat for the upcoming year. You ready? Okay. You ready for this? Tom Brady's got 84,520 regular season passing yards. He's got 13,049 in the postseason. Tom Brady is 2,431 yards away for passing for 100,000 yards. 100,000 yards. Hey, Trevor, the turnover chain. Let me say this to you about the turnover chain. It's phony tough guy stuff. The turnover chain is phony tough guy stuff. Phony swagger. Phony tough guy. You're down 27-10 and you're putting on a turnover chain. It might look a little bad. Okay. Ricky says, I'm someone who isn't going to praise Hurts, but also not going to drag him down with criticism. Just kind of sit in silence and hope he gets better. Okay. Hey, by the way, is that real fact? Vince McMahon retired? He stepped away. Wow. Hey, did McMahon really step away? Wow, man. He must be in a lot of trouble. He must be in a shitload of trouble, man. Wow, man. Dude, that Vince McMahon is the WWF, WWE. He is, man. Holy cow. What was it, like $12 million to like 4 different chicks that he had to pay off for sexual misconduct and railroading people in? Wasn't his wife part of the Trump administration too? Oh, my God. Oh, man. Hey, Xander's right. Can I tell you who I think Vince McMahon is? Vince McMahon is a modern-day Barnum and Bailey. He is a modern-day Barnum and Bailey. Puts the greatest shows on. He's got the greatest skit writers. He's got the greatest people that put on some of the best shows of all time. Dude, he is there is nobody in broadcast history that did the things that McMahon did. Even when they pulled the curtain back and they started giving you that it was kind of rigged wrestling, that it didn't matter because they put all these great theatrical shows on. But McMahon is Barnum and Bailey, man. Those WrestleManias, the one where Hogan and the Giant, from that time, I think it was Detroit. When they kicked that thing off, guys, they've never looked back. They've never looked back. My man, hey, me too, man. Superstar Billy Graham. Dude, I love Superstar Billy Graham. Billy Graham was my dude, man. He was my favorite wrestler of all time. Him and Ken Patera. Ken was somebody I loved because I idolized the fact he's the first man in history to clean and jerk 500 pounds. Bruno Sammartino, man, my grandfather loved him. I wrestled with Ultimate Warrior, was actually trained. Cowboy Bob Orton and Ole Anderson trained me. Those were my training guys. Can you believe that? Ole Anderson, who found the Road Warriors, trained me along with Cowboy Bob Orton. I think his kid's a big star now, right? Randy Orton? Right? Chief J Strongbow. God, you guys are going back a ways. Don't lie, Sills. You're a Goldust fan. Macho Man. Yeah, hey, Trev, man, I had a lot of fun doing all that stuff. Hey, guys, listen. Make sure you have a spectacular weekend. Thank you guys so much. Next week, we got 4 days training camp. We're here. Can you believe it? The start of the National Football League season starts over the weekend here. Eagles start on the 26th, and we're ready to rock and roll. Have a great weekend. Please hit the like button. We will catch you on Monday going 3 to 6. We'll see you on the flip.